What's up, everybody? Welcome back to I Came a Fire podcast. We are here tonight with Seth Gehle, but I'm going to do a quick shout out real fast to our boy and friend of the show, Connor Matthews, who is debuting in UFC at the end of the month on the 30th at Atlantic City, rocking the merch. You can head over his page and pick some up, and then make sure you check him out. It's a UFC debut on TV, and you can go listen to our episode with him. I didn't hear no bell. But yeah, congratulations to him. And so Seth, man, I really appreciate you coming on and talking with us. You actually hit us up on the podcast page and asked about coming on because you're writing a book and you have an amazing story as well. And I highly encourage everybody, when this comes out, to obviously check out the episode, but also go to Seth's page. And he has a really awesome video that kind of details everything about him on his YouTube page. So go check him out. But Seth, I'd like to let everybody give the opportunity to introduce themselves. So welcome to the show, man.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah, I'm Seth Gehle. I like you said, I'm on Instagram. I'm on YouTube. You can look me up that way. And then I actually just created a website today, so it's sethgehle.com.
Nice.
So that's got everything on there. But I was born and raised in Lima, Ohio, Northwest Ohio. Freaking joined the Army, came down south. Now I live in Atlanta, and I work in construction, and I'm like you said, I'm writing a book right now that should be done later on this year. I've got a lot that's actually unpacking in that we may talk about today, but so it may actually go a little bit longer. I'm not really sure, but
yeah, we're ready.
Yeah, man. And then writing the book, and then I'm working on my professional speaking career. So I just had my first, I would say, biggest event at the University of North Georgia last week on Tuesday. So that was pretty cool. So
that is cool.
That's what I'm doing now.
Was it like a commencement speech or something, or like what was it?
It was a teen wellness summit. So there was like a main keynote guy, and he spoke for like an hour, and then they broke up like these like 300 plus students into like 15 classrooms or 20 classrooms, something like that. So I got to speak to about 45, 50 kids maybe, and just kind of told them my life story. And then my big thing was like mental health advocacy and resiliency and just being strong. My story is always really, really powerful. I mean, obviously you guys know a little bit about it, but whenever I speak, I've done like 6 engagements. This was my first. I say it big because it was paid. It was my first paid one.
Congrats, man.
Big deal, yeah. So every time I speak though, the room is really quiet and it's pretty funny because I've got a bit of a presence, I think. So it's cool.
Yeah, well, you've got a David Morse presence, right? Right, Zach?
It does. It does.
Dude, we figured it out before we jumped on here that Seth looks like David Morse, the actor. So if you're like me and you didn't know who the fuck that was, go ahead and Google him because you'll see that Seth looks just like him. He really does. I think
couldn't remember the actor's name either. I just remembered his face, and I had to help get Brandon's help, and I just started spitting off a plot to a movie called The Rock. And then Brandon told me the actual title immediately, and I was like, "Cool," because I knew he was in it.
That's literally all that's up here is useless movie information. Deadass. So that's it. 100%.
He was also in The Green Mile. So
he was, and Disturbia. He's the murderer neighbor. Anyway, now that we're here with David Morse, Seth Gehle, we'll talk about But no, dude. So I saw on Instagram yesterday that your race didn't go as planned, but yesterday for the second time, Seth attempted a 100-mile ultra run, which is insane, dude. Yeah, and so tell us about it because I want to know, dude, what happened? What are the deets?
Dude, holy shit! So ultra marathons, they're funny because they will. So what I found out like yesterday was my first run that I've ever done in hot weather. It got up to about 75 during the middle of the day.
Okay.
So that was the first time I've ever done an ultra in hot weather. And after being in the Army for 8 years, I found out that you will chafe in places that you did not know you could chafe in. And like, dude, I'm like suffering from it now. Like so I took off my shirt for a couple hours. Excuse me. And my whole back, chest, and everything, shoulders, everything's sunburnt. I'm chafing under both my arms. I'm chafing in other places. So everything just hurts like hell. My knees hurt, my legs hurt. I can barely walk. And and the sunburn is just terrible. So
Yeah.
but yeah, I guess what happened was, I'm big as hell, and I'm not built like an ultra runner,
Yeah.
and I'm like 205 pounds. What I was actually trying to do was total 1,200 pounds between my bench, squat, and deadlift, and then run 100 miles in the same week. Like that was like I think that'd be really cool because most ultra
Dude, that's a
runners,
goal.
most ultra runners are like skinny little guys, and they're not that strong. And there's a few of them out there that are athletic and they're pretty strong.
Sure.
But I'll tell you this. So I finished I got to mile 40. It was like 40.95 is what I ran.
Damn.
Yeah, and when I came across that line, I was the last one that was like a big dude. Everybody else was pretty small. So I at least outlasted the giants. But man, it was tough. So this particular race is it's a backyard ultra. So what it is a loop. So sometimes they're a mile, sometimes they're 3 miles or a 4 mile loop. And you just run that same loop. And this one, since it was a mile, you run it 15 minutes on the minute. So you get 15 minutes to run your mile, and then the clock, whatever it hits back to 15 minutes, you start the next lap. And so that's all it is. And it doesn't sound that bad. Like you can walk a mile in 15 minutes if you're kind of fast. But there's some hills to it, and there's some trails. And then after 8 hours of continuous movement, it just
Dude,
it was freaking brutal. That was the hardest race I've ever done, and I've ran 60 and a 50 miler before, and that 40 miles kicked my ass.
Yeah. What was your pace?
So I was actually pretty calculated the whole time. I kind of figured out the course really quick, and I came in every lap right at like about 13:30. So I had about a minute and a half to kind of stand there and get some water, change out my water bottles, and get once it started getting hot, I had my crew, which was my wife and my brother. They were taking a wet shirt and kind of damping me down to cool me off because I was hot as hell, like I was burning up out there. So the bigger you are, especially if you have a lot of muscle mass. I'm a pretty muscular dude, I guess.
Pretty buff.
And yeah, and with that, you burn up a lot more oxygen. You use a lot more oxygen, and your body will run a lot hotter. So just science. The bigger you are, the hotter you run. That's just all it is. And I was fucking sucking out there. I ain't gonna lie.
Dude, hats off anyway, man. 40 miles, dude. Like you were close to like 2 marathons, kind of. You know what I mean? Like, I've never even run a marathon. I before I went into the Air Force, like a month before I went in the Air Force, I did a half marathon in St. Louis. And I've always been like, hey, that's pretty cool. You know what I mean? But like, I've never had any inkling to do even just a marathon since then. So that's incredible, dude. That's like some David Goggins shit.
I've never ran further than a mile and a half ever in my life.
Because the Air Force made you.
Yeah, and I do that once a year.
Yeah.
In my annual PT test.
I'm not a runner either. I mean, I guess I am now, but like I fucking hate it. And I mean, like I said, I've done 60 miles. I've done a 50 miler. I've done a couple 30-mile races. Yeah, and that 40 was the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. That especially the last crazy. Because I thought I was going to stop at like 16 or 17 miles because it was it was getting so hard and it was getting hot.
Oh, you crushed that.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, I mean, And then the last lap, so the second to last lap, I came in with like 2 seconds to spare on the clock.
Okay.
And then my brother was like, I was about to pass out. And then my brother was like, let's get one more. And so we ran one more. And I was just
Did he go with you?
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he ran with me for one more lap. And then that was my last one. I came in, fell to my knees like a bitch, and felt sorry for myself.
Bro, I don't think that makes you a bitch. 40 fucking miles is pretty impressive. What was harder about this one versus a 60 miler?
The 60 mile course was flatter, and you got an hour to run 4 miles instead of 1 mile. So like the longer, so if you have 4 miles, if you run each mile at like 12-minute pace, like the same thing I was doing for the 1 mile loop, at the end of it, you get an 8 to 10 minute break instead of a 1 to 2 minute break. So you just the longer you have to run, it's easier to get a longer break between laps. So when you're down to 1 mile though, you have to run that mile in like 9 minutes if you want a decent break, and that's a fucking
Right.
fast mile for
That is a good pace.
trails and shit like that. So
yeah, so I do at least 5 miles 6 days a week. And I normally come in anywhere between like 9 and 10 minutes for the whole 5 miles. You know what I mean? And because that is a hard pace for that long. I mean, I'm also like 205. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like, I'm sure there's somebody out there listening who's like, man, that's fucking slow. But for me, that's pretty good. You know what I mean? But so yeah, I couldn't imagine keeping that up for 40 miles. That's fucking nuts, man. Couldn't even imagine. So, are you gonna do another one?
Yeah. I've got my
He's like,
eyes.
until I get it.
Yeah. Well, the backyards are hard. They're harder. Like a regular 100 miler is not that bad. Well, it still sucks, but a regular like when I ran my 50 miler, for example, that was a traditional ultra where it's like a point A to point B. And so when you run that, you can walk as much as you want, and you don't have to run a specific pace. There are time cutoffs, but the ultra running community, especially the trails, they are like super community based friendly. So like they don't really give a shit as long as you're not like dragging ass and about to die. They'll pretty much they're like you have to get to point B by 3 hours. You have to get to point C by 5 hours. But if you come in a little bit behind, as long as you're not dying, they're like, okay, you just need to speed up a little bit. So when I ran my 50 miler, like I was fine. Like at the end, I ran the last like 5 miles like at like a 10-minute pace. And I mean, I was hauling ass at the end, and I was good. Like I came across the finish line. Yeah, but that's the thing with the traditional ultras, you just get more time to rest in between checkpoints, and then when you get to an aid station, you can sit there for 30 minutes. You know that's what makes those nice is the rest times between. So, but I've got my eyes on a really hard 100 miler, and I probably won't be able to do it because of my book and everything right now, but I'd like to. Maybe next year. I would definitely next year. Yeah. There was a guy who ran 100 miles in 19 hours on this course last year, and there's 16,000 feet of elevation on this course.
Holy
and
crap!
It's like the North Georgia mountains, and that means that this guy was running a sub 9-minute pace for 100 miles, including all the rest and aid stations, changing out his shoes, all that shit, which really means he's probably run like a 7 to 8 minute pace for 100 miles up and down fucking mountains and shit. I mean, it was fucking insane.
Who the fuck is this Bolt? Dude, no. What was that guy like the Kenyan dude that at the Olympics, right? Like had like a 4.5 minute mile pace for the entire marathon or something. What's his fuck? I can't remember his name, but like that's what it reminds me of. Nah, Usain Bolt's a short distance like sprinter.
Yeah,
that's totally different. But yeah, no, that sounds like a robot dude out there.
Dude, that's fucking insane. Go ahead.
It is. What what is your hope running these? Like, is this something that you're just doing for yourself to say I fucking did it, or is there like a deeper lesson here for you that you're trying to see or learn?
You know, I'm kind of retarded, so like I just kind of like just do dumb shit. Yeah, I just do dumb shit. Like I don't know, man. I work out a lot. I do jiu-jitsu and I run ultra marathons, and like doing all three of those, I think it's just cool because I can say that I do it, and it's just doing hard shit. Like I just like doing like. I was in the Army for 8 years, and I was never the fucking runner. Like I was even in the 82nd, where all you do is run, and I was never the fucking runner. Never. I was decent, but I was always a strong guy. And so when I got out, I saw my buddy attempt an ultra marathon, 100 miler, the one I was telling you about.
Yeah.
And he failed. But when I was out there, I was like, damn, dude, I want to get some of this shit because it looked fucking hard, and it was a big community, and it was cool. Like everybody's like supporting everybody. And I was like, fuck yeah. And the cool thing about ultra marathons is that it's like, how long can you just keep going? Like it's just just a
what's the limit of your body? What's the limit of your mind?
Exactly. Yeah. The backyards are tougher because you're pushing the clock, the time. But on a traditional, it's really just like, can you just keep moving your body forward? And it's cool. And I've had a pretty fucked up life, so when I go out there and accomplish something, to me it's a bigger deal because everything that I've gone through to get where I'm going. So whenever I do accomplish something like running 50 miles or 60 miles. I get a lot of time out there to think on those tracks and those trails, and I just, I really, like, it sounds kind of cliche, but I really do just think about like how blessed I am and how lucky I am. And even at this one this weekend or yesterday, we ran around this pond basically, and it's a freaking Saturday. It's sunny and 75, and I'm running circles around this fucking pond, and like that's like I have nothing to complain about, So it's just I think when you do hard shit, man, it gives you perspective on life. And it also just my kids were out there. My kids were out there for several hours, probably like 5 or 6 hours, and they got to see me every lap, and they're cheering me on, and they get to see me coming through and
That's powerful
sucking.
for them to see. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, man. Yeah. So, yeah. I mean, we're just that's just it's hard, and I like doing that shit.
Do you have like a ritual or like a routine or like something that helps you kind of like get ready for them, or like while you're running? Do you do anything specific while running to kind of help you?
No, and that's probably because I'm so dumb. Like
It's the Army talking. Are you
yeah,
still?
no,
Yeah.
like
Okay.
my brother
yesterday.
my brother threw up the idea of getting a like 40 pack of like Bush Light and like knocking one down like every hour.
Oh my
and I was
God.
like, damn. I was like, we should totally do that. And he didn't buy it, and I was convinced I was going to run 100 miles. I didn't know how
That's
hard
why
that
it didn't
shit
happen.
was. Yeah. So yeah, we'll blame it on him for that. But no, I really don't have like I know what I got to do, which is basically you got to stay up on your electrolytes and stay up on your calories. That's like the two big killers.
Carbo
So
load.
I mean, yeah. So
you order a pizza?
I did actually, yeah. But dude, I couldn't fucking eat it. But when the pizza got there, like because you have such short time between laps, and I was just fucking exhausted and hot as hell, and so like
didn't even want it.
Dude, yeah, I just couldn't even. I mean, I couldn't even do it. Like, it didn't matter what they gave me. Like, nothing was like hitting the spot. The bananas were about it. I mean, I was eating a lot of bananas, but
Dude,
yeah, just
good
man,
for your
it
muscle
was.
cramps.
Yeah, I mean, I had plenty of like, because they make all kinds of supplements now that have the sodium and the electrolytes and all that shit that you need, even carbs in it. So that's really what I was taking down for most of my calories. I was eating food because when you have a bunch of liquid calories, your stomach will get fucked up. It'll get like sloshy. So you want to eat like something to keep it dry up in there.
Okay.
So to answer your question, the most preparation that I do is make sure I've got my body lubed up so I don't chafe, and it's like inevitable.
Still happened.
Yeah, after like 40 miles, you're going to chafe. It doesn't matter.
Yeah,
and you're going to get blisters and shit. So
the Vaseline Ultra Marathon, right, for chafing.
Yeah. They make
they
make some
Astroglide.
Right? Jesus. Because you're getting fucked. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
I know a lot of runners. I've read that they like chew gum while they run because it's like something for them to do, something to think about, and then they get into a rhythm.
Told me that, Zach.
Yeah, they get into a rhythm of chewing gum and running at like a pace, so it just keeps them on track. I've heard that's pretty good.
Yeah, I went through a few pieces of gum out there. Yeah, you chew it until it like disintegrates in your fucking mouth, and but after like 3 or 4 pieces of gum, you like it gets me sick. Like that's the bad thing about it. Is like you'll get something that works really good, and it's like, oh damn, this drink is really good, and then after like 6 bottles of it, you're like fucking hey man, I just need some fucking
Never
water.
want to have this again.
Yeah. So,
that's fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
No, your doing hard shit thing is something that we've had discussed on the podcast a few times as a theme. And but I always like to bring up the same quote because it's one of my favorites from Seneca, the Roman Stoic philosopher. The body should be treated more rigorously so that it does not disobey the mind.
Yeah.
And I really, really like that quote because it is true. When you said doing hard things, I experience the same sort of thought process like when I'm running as well. And there is an appreciation for being able to do the hard things as well. And I, even when I'm sitting there sucking wind or like my knees are hurting or whatever, I'm like, you know what though? Like at least I am able to be out here doing this, and I pay more attention to the scenery. And I always run in the evenings after work. So like sometimes the sun is going down, and just kind of have that appreciation of having that ability, and then also appreciating the environment and being out in it. It is there's a lot to get from that, and there's a lot to get from failure too, right? What would you say, like, you take away from these experiences where you don't check that box and you fail at what you're doing?
Man, it sucks, honestly. Like, it
Mm-hmm.
sucks pretty hard for a few minutes because, like, I have very high expectations for myself, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm not ever going to go out to do something and think that I'm going to lose. Like, I know if I go run a traditional race, like, I'm not going to win because I'm not fast. Like, I'm just, and I don't train for it. I'm not prepared for it. Like, I barely prepared for this race, so I don't know why the fuck my expectations were so
It
high.
still did 40 miles, bro. Hell yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
That's a win in my book.
yeah, I mean, I'm like 20 pounds heavier than what I was when I ran 60 miles, and
Mm-hmm.
um, I barely prepared for this one, and but still, it's just a mental thing, like I said. So when I do fail at shit like this, or even like a jiu-jitsu match, if I lose a jiu-jitsu match,
Mm-hmm.
it definitely sucks, like, because I don't want to lose. But on the same token, it's okay. Like, it's like that's part of life. Like, you're going to fucking lose. And
No doubt.
one thing I learned as a leader in the Army, and actually in the construction world,
Mm.
was I did so well. So I'll say in construction, I did so fucking good in construction when I first got in as building homes. I was crushing these leaderboards. I was at the top. All my shit was fucking perfect, and it was really impressive. But
Right.
my VP of construction at the time said, I think it's really impressive, but we'll see what happens when you fail.
Mhm.
Like a true
Want to see
leader.
how you bounce back.
Exactly. Yeah. That was a good point, man. Because I finally did take an L in construction after like a year and some change. Like, I got a bad survey, and this customer basically said I was a piece of shit. Um,
Damn.
yeah, I mean, he's the first one to tell the truth, to be honest. I mean, out of like out of like 40 out of like 40 some customers, he's the first one to give me a real
Mm-hmm.
review. No, I'm just kidding. But no, he said that, and he said some shit on there, and I was kind of like, you motherfucker,
Yeah.
but like you said, it's about bouncing back. Like, if you get to the top, that's great. But if you take an L, it's just like in the UFC, man. Those guys get to the
Mm-hmm.
top, they hold their belt, and then as soon as they lose, boom, they just start,
Yeah.
like, look at Volkanovski. He's lost like 3 in a row now,
Yeah.
and so um,
Yeah,
I
dude.
think that's an interesting thing about losing, and trying to. It's easy to get to the top. It's hard to stay up there. So when you
Yep.
do get up there and you do win, and then you start to lose a little bit, it's like, can you get back up? Can you keep fighting?
Yeah, I love that you said that, and not to soapbox too much about the Air Force, because Zach and I do that fairly often. But one of the things that the Air Force is really bad at is not letting people bounce back from their failures,
Yeah, it's
and
a
they
one
will
fail
keep
Air
it as
Force.
a cloud over your head forever, right? And the Air Force is a small place, just like the Army is, and you're going to PCS, and you'll meet somebody who knew you or knew somebody who knew you, right? And they always got a story about whoever, right, you relate to. And so it's really hard to get away from those failures. And like Zach just said, the Air Force is a one fail, Air Force, right? And they don't promote people who fail, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they don't let people get out from that. So by the time a lot of these, I like to use the word leaders in quotes, get to these positions where they are leading, they don't have that experience of failure. They don't have the resiliency. They can't talk to you about it. They can't give an, like, one of my favorite flight chiefs had been a staff sergeant twice because
Yeah,
he lost a strike.
yeah,
And those guys, you need those dudes to be like, hey man, this is not the end of the fucking world.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's a lot to be said about failing and coming back from it, because like you said, it is hard to get back up. It's hard to be truly resilient, because it requires, you can have people all day saying, hey, good job, you're doing all right, man, come back, you're going to be okay. But at the end of the day, if this isn't doing the same thing, then you're not going to bounce back. So there's a lot to be said for failure and maintaining your resiliency that way.
I've never had large failures, I guess, in my career. And when I was the shirt for my unit, I had, airmen coming to me with some problems, and I couldn't relate to their problems because it never happened
Oh
to
no.
me. I didn't understand it. So I had to reach out to other people and be like, get advice from them before giving my
Mm,
advice to this airman because I didn't have their issue. I didn't have their problem. I didn't know how to like think about it or whatever. Like it's a quote from Rocky. It ain't about how hard you're hit. It's about how you can get hit and keep moving forward. How much you can take and keep moving forward.
That's right.
That's right.
That's right.
Adrian.
So, what'd you do in the Army?
I was in the infantry. Yeah, so I joined as a mechanic in the reserves when I was in high school because the fucking recruiter told me that I was going to blow shit up.
Gotcha.
And that was a fucking
Just
lie.
engines. Just engines.
Yeah. We blew up them
The
motherfuckers
recruiter's
too.
mouth is moving. They're lying.
Yeah. So
Zach was a recruiter, so
Yep.
well, yeah. Fuck all those guys. Okay.
Yeah.
No.
Hell yeah.
No. He walked in the cafeteria one day and he was like, "Hey man, you want to join the army?" I was like, "Yeah, fuck it." And honestly, I was like, "Man, it's gonna give me a lot of pussy." So
I'll do this. Yeah. I mean, that's a good reason. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So
all for the nookie. Fred
yeah,
Durst.
exactly. So I joined there, and then I when I was in college, my freshman year, I was going to a community college in Columbus, Ohio, and I was like, this is not the fucking army, because I was in the reserves, and I was like showing up, and I was like kind of confused, and I was like what the fuck is going on? And then I was about to be homeless because I had no financial literacy, and so I went to the recruiters again, and I was like, hey, what the fuck? I thought I was joining the army, and then they signed me up for an 18X contract, which is the Special Forces candidate. So I went, that's how I got into the infantry. I went there, I failed that pipeline like a fucking turd, and then went into the infantry. So went to Fort Stewart. It's actually kind of funny story about failing airborne school. I didn't really fail. I got curfew fucking got me.
Okay.
Because airborne school's airborne school's a joke, and
so
they don't ever
time manage. So you passed curfew.
Yeah. That sounds worse, actually.
Proper prior planning prevents piss poor performance.
Jesus, Zach.
Shit, sorry.
Got him.
Fucking A. Yeah, so, yeah, that does sound bad. Yeah, man. Well, they don't ever do fucking curfew checks, and
until they do.
Well, yeah, exactly. That's like the one fucking time. And me and my buddy went out to get a fucking coffee. And we were just like, because we were like hardcore, like running and rucking. Like we were getting ready for a selection. We were like, fuck this. We go out for a coffee. And I didn't even get to drink my fucking coffee because I spilt it. And then whatever, we get back on base like 30 minutes later. And they're like, hey, they did a barracks check. And we're like, bullshit. And they did, man. They called us out Sunday morning. Fucking Gehle. Fucking ran my ass up there. Whoop. Position of attention.
Yep.
You're fucking gone. I'm like, motherfucker, dude.
Where am I going?
Dang. I know, right?
Yeah.
Just no recycle, just fucking gone.
Booted my ass, man. And that was the week before that was the weekend before jump week. That's why me and my buddy went out, because we were like, we don't know when we're going to get to go out again after we pass.
Right.
And so, dude, we went out.
For
boom,
coffee.
Got his exactly. Kicked
what
us
coffee
out.
was it? It was like Starbucks? Was it Dunkin'? What was it?
It was some fucking local fucking bullshit down in Columbus, Georgia. Yeah, man, I was fucking mad as hell.
I would be too.
I went to Fort Stewart, Georgia for a couple years, and then I went back to airborne school, and then ended up in the 82nd.
Passed it this time, no coffee.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Fuck those guys. You learned
proper time management the second time. It's good.
Yeah. Well, the second time I almost beat the fuck out of this fucking private. So I told him he had. Yeah. This fucking kid took a picture of me. I was fucking naked, and this fucking kid.
What the hell?
Yeah. He
That's
took a
weird.
picture of me. Yeah, it is weird. And I told him, I was like, "Look, man, you can either delete all that shit, and you can admit it to these NCOs right here that you fucking took a picture of me, or I'll beat your fucking ass." And
two choices.
I was like, it's up to you. And this kid was like fresh out of basics, scared as fuck, and I was a sergeant at the time. I think it was an E5. Yeah. And so I was about to like.
What the fuck was the point of that? Yeah, that's.
Dude, I don't fucking know. And the fucked up thing, well, the fucked up thing too was the reason why it really pissed me off is because he was a medic, and so he was really held liable for all the HIPAA shit. And that's what I told him. I was like, you're about to be a fucking medic, and you're over here taking pictures of fucking guys while they're naked, and it's like, you fucking piece of shit. So
it made me wonder if he had any other pictures of other people. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So I ended up telling the cadre there. I was like, look, like this guy's got to go. Like he's a fucking medic. He's taking pictures of people. I gave him the option, of either not or I'll beat his fucking ass. And he chose this. He chose to be reported. So there it is. There it was. So, anyways, I almost failed airborne school again because I about fucking killed some bastard for.
I've been like, listen, man, I got kicked out of here last time over a fucking cup of coffee. I'm not getting kicked out of here because someone took a picture of my naked ass. Like, you're gonna do something about this, and I'm finishing for real. Like,
yeah, dude. Well, dude, it's funny.
I'm not getting burned twice.
I saw him take the picture. Like, I remember when it happened. I was at my locker changing, and I have a sixth sense about. I just know what's going on around me, and I swear to God, I can read people's minds sometimes. And this all comes from how I grew up. But I was sitting there at my locker. I fucking dropped my shorts, and I see a phone like angled towards me, and I look over, and I'm just kind of like, he just took a fucking picture of me. And
oh, dude.
So the next day, actually, I didn't say anything there because I was kind of hot already. So the next day, he was walking past me, and I don't think he saw me. I was like laying on my bunk or something like that. It was him and another kid, and they had made a comment about like something naked and a dick or whatever. And I was like, "You motherfucker!" And so like that kind of confirmed that he had taken the picture. And so I got up, and then he like I said, he admitted it, which is kind of funny that I put it all together and I was able to catch his ass because I was like, "You son of a bitch, dude." But yeah, he admitted it all, and then yeah, because he had like sent it on Snapchat or something like that. So I don't know who all got to see. I mean, I didn't get no royalties out of that shit.
Shame.
Yeah.
What a shame.
Yeah.
Dude, that's really fucking weird, man. I don't understand. Like, I mean, if you're like taking it for your own personal enjoyment, you're like trying to blackmail somebody, you know what I mean? Like, you either do this or I'm posting your butt on the internet, you know?
In Japan,
I mean, like, go for it.
In Japan, there's so many issues of like just sickos taking pictures of like women and stuff, or like under their skirts. That here in the U.S., you can like make your phone silent when you take a picture and stuff. Doesn't do anything. In Japan, no matter what you do, the phone will always do the loudest clicking like noise ever. You can't turn it off. It's not an option.
It's such a problem. Your phone snitches on you, dude. Like, that's so funny.
So like you'll be like in a subway, you hear someone go, and then you look, and you're like,
I know.
Some creepy
dude's got a cell phone taped to his shoe, you know, and a fucking remote.
It's like such a prominent issue the Japanese government had to make it to where all phones in Japan.
Yeah.
What's crazy is your phone knows, because when I went to Japan with my American phone, I was taking pictures and it was like, and I was like, what the hell? And my phone knew I entered Japan and it made it loud and I couldn't turn it off.
Oh,
when I came back,
that's interesting.
It worked again. I was like, what the hell? So,
wow.
I did not know that. That's pretty crazy.
That's fucking crazy. Yeah.
It is. Makes me wonder what other countries have stupid fucking like geofencing things like that, you know?
Yeah.
Like you get into Romania and then all of a sudden, whatever. I don't know.
You go to China and you can't access Google.
You can't watch porn in Afghanistan. So that
you can't even watch porn in Texas now. Pornhub
Christ.
Anyway. Pornhub
Pornhub
is no longer accessible.
I think it got banned in North Carolina too.
There's a couple states too. It's like I think it's both Carolinas and Virginia. Missouri is another one I know. Like whatever, dude. I live in California, unfortunately, where porn will never be banned. So
it's probably right down the street.
That's for true.
I had a VPN to like Romanian porn when I was in Afghanistan, and that's like a whole other level of shit, dude. Let me tell you.
Dude, the VPN, man. I watched so much sports when I was either deployed or fucking stationed overseas because of VPNs. Yeah. Thank God for VPNs and other things, you know?
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. But so you've referenced a few times, you know, like you developed this sixth sense growing up because of the way you were brought up. I just want to say, like, anybody listening, like this episode definitely may have some like triggers for you, especially with like sexual assault, you know, maybe sexual assault with children, things like that. So if you are sensitive to those things, you can just skip this one, catch us on the next one. But Seth, you know, we let you jump in on like why you're writing this book and like where this all started for you, man.
Yeah, so when I was about 9 or 10 years old, I kind of tell the story a lot. I was going up the stairs in my house and I look in my living room and my mom is sitting there smoking some weed, which is like pretty normal for us. Like she was always smoking, but she was smoking with a bunch of guys and these guys had always been at our house. But this time, I think it's like the first time I saw my sisters in there smoking.
Okay,
and we're all 1 year apart, so they were like 10 and 11, something like that, or 9 and 11, and smoking weed in a room with a bunch of grown men. And this was like 20 years ago when weed was like bad, you know? So
definitely.
Devil's
yeah,
lettuce.
so I actually remember like around that time, if not that day, where I was like, I knew I was going to do something special with my life. Like I knew I was going to, like, this wasn't going to be it for me. And a lot of people that live like that, they just are stuck in that cycle and they just live it. And that's just their life forever.
Yeah.
They grow up and they live in that same shitty little city for the rest of their life. And that's it. That wasn't going to be me. And I always knew that for some reason. I'm not really sure why or how, but I just did. And so around that time, she had met a guy, and this guy had gotten her hooked up on some crack and coke. Oddly enough, he was the like pastor or something like that of a church.
Of course.
Yeah, so he was super, super smooth, super
Crack for
slick on the
Christ.
tongue. Yeah, exactly. And and this guy was a fucking piece of shit, let me tell you. But I knew he was the minute I met him. Like I knew he was. But you know, he was smooth. And he had that little silver tongue, whatever you want to call it. So, anyways, at that same time, about like 10 years old, my life basically, it was already hard because I was growing up. I grew up with a single mother of 3, and so it was already hard. We already had like a lot of shit that was going on. But at that point, when I was like 10, like shit really took a bad turn, and my mom just got like real violent all of a sudden. Our house got broken into
Damn.
like 3 times. We were there. Me and my sisters were there alone twice. I remember being there like 10 years old, watching 3 people kick in my back door. We had like a deadbolt and a 2x4 going across the door, and
Shit.
we're just like watching them, like the door is just like inching open, you know.
Boom.
Yeah, so it was pretty fucking scary. And then like the cops showed up and they like called my mom and then they like left and that was it. It was like, okay, whatever, go back to sleep. And then that happened again like 2 weeks later, and they actually got in the house. But our neighbor came in about the same time, I guess, or something. And all I remember from the second time was I was being carried out of my bed in my neighbor's arms, and he's just like, "Don't worry about it, like I got you." And they took us next
crap.
door, and yeah.
What
So
are these people looking for? Do you know?
dude, no idea. That's what's scary. It's like we didn't have shit. So,
Maybe they wanted that
and what's
crack.
even worse is like, yeah. So um, they knew my mom's work schedule because they would come like 45 minutes after she left for work. So she would work all night and then be home during the day. She'd work while we were asleep at home, which is fucking crazy to think about. Like leaving like your 8, 9, and 10-year-old at home while you just go and work your factory job with like no cell phone, no source of communication.
Different
She just
time
left
back
us
then.
there. Yeah, I mean, it is definitely, times are much, much different than they were 20 years ago. But even now, I'm like, there's no fucking way I'm leaving my 5-year-old or 6-year-old at home all night long.
No.
You know,
I think it's actually a legal age. I think it's like 12. Like you can't leave like a child home alone until they're like 12. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. So, yeah, but I mean, she had been doing that for a while. Like even when we were younger, well, when we were younger, she would work at during the day. So we'd get home from school, and we'd be home alone for like 2 or 3 hours, and then she'd be there at night. But once we got older, she kind of flipped it, where she just left us at home at night. So, anyways, um, yeah. So she started getting crazy. She started beating the shit out of us. I remember she walked in my room one time, and she like hammer fist like punched my sister in the mouth, like banged her head against the wall, beat the shit out of her, like hit her probably 2 or 3 more times. And I actually jumped on the other side of my bed, and I was like sitting there crying. And once again, I was like 10 years old when this happened, and I'm looking up at my mom, and she's like raging and yelling, and she's like, she looks at me, she goes, "Why are you being a little bitch?" And I'm like, bro, like what? So even when I tell that story today, like a lot of people don't believe me when I tell them, like, because they can't imagine their mom saying that to them. But that happened. So yeah, so that was kind of getting tough. There was a time I walked home from school and she beat the hell out of me with a board because I came in late. And
What was
instead of
causing
like
all this for her?
I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know. She just kind of like went off the deep end. She had drank and smoked her whole life, but she wasn't like I just didn't look at her like an alcoholic. I think She unfortunately had like a very victim mentality, and I think the single mother kind of life was just getting to her too much. And I mean, it sounds fucked up, but like people who treat their kids bad, for example, a lot of times when you, I'm not, well, I think a lot of times when you look at those cases, it's somebody who doesn't have a support system, somebody who doesn't have any kind of help. And it's not that it's an excuse, but if you've had a fucked up life and then you're left to take care of another life, you will have some thoughts that come in your head sometimes. I mean, if you've had a fucked up life, you'll just have bad thoughts in general.
Yeah.
So when
definitely.
you have the added stressors of other things, you'll have even more fucked up thoughts. And if you don't have a support system, you end up doing fucked up shit.
Yeah.
And there are one-offs where you have this like perfect American family and the dad just kills people for some odd reason.
Yeah.
That does happen, but I think a lot of those cases where you see like a baby dumped in a dumpster, that mom was probably a single mother and had no support. Like I said, I'm not making excuses. I'm just saying
no.
like I think it drives people crazy where they just can't do it anymore. And so they like give up and they freak out and they make a bad decision. And I think that's kind of what happened to my mom is she started to just freak out.
She have a shitty upbringing too?
I think so. Yeah, it wasn't great. Yeah, it definitely wasn't great. And you know, my father, when she met my father when she was like 17, so she had me and my sisters like 17, 18, 19.
Yeah.
And
That's rough.
yeah, so then my father went to prison when I was like 2 for stabbing her behind the ear. And he went to prison for a long time for that. I never really knew my father growing up, so you know, there's a lot going on there. And not to mention everybody else in our family was fucked up too. Like every other part of my family, cousins and all this shit was all fucked up. So there wasn't really any support. But anyways, right as that happened, I try to tell my story. It's almost like walking down the street and you have to see like two sides. And I was living both sides of the street at the same time. So Monday through Friday or whatever, Monday through Friday during I say the school week, I was living at home with my mom dealing with the abuse and the drugs and the violence. And then I would end up meeting this guy when I was like 10. He was like 30 some years old. I met him through my best friend at the time, who my best friend was 5 years older than me. He introduced me to this guy who would end up being my sexual abuser for the next like 5.5 years. And so yeah, this guy, he invited me up to his house with my other friend. We hang out, and I hung out with him for about 3 months, and then he finally started to make some moves on me. And I was like 10, and he touched me. He kind of like grabs my ass, starts to kind of do that kind of stuff, and then the first time he did it, you know, I was just kind of like he kind of like his hand fell and brushed my ass, and I was like, oh yeah, that's cool, man. Like it would be the same thing as me and you bump in the hallway. I was like, yeah, no worries.
Yeah.
And then he grabbed my ass and he said, oh, so it's okay if I put my hand here? And I was just like, fuck, man. I was like, here we go. I mean, I knew immediately. I was just like, oh my god, here we go.
Yeah.
And yeah. So and this guy was like 6'5", 380 pounds, fucking big ass, fucking Mexican dude.
No way to fight him back.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Fuck no. This dude. And when I say
your home life is wrecked, so like who do you go to? You don't have like an out, someone to ask for help.
Yeah. Perfect storm, man. I mean, this guy. Well, I know when he met me and he found out that I didn't have a father and shit like that. I mean, he was probably fucking hard as a rock. I mean, right when that happened. And so yeah. Yeah, and he was very capable too. I say he's 6'5", 380 pounds. Like he was not a slob of a man. Like he looked like he could throw a fucking hard punch. And so, but he wasn't. I mean, truthfully, he wasn't scary. And the crazy thing about this whole situation with him is that he was an extremely kind and like helpful guy. Like I was going through a lot of shit with my mom, and I wanted to kill myself a lot of times. And he would like coach me through life. Like, and that was what was so fucked up about the situation was that he was so helpful and getting me through my mom's situation. But on the same side, he was using it to his advantage as well.
Yeah, he's not.
And
looking back, you see now he wasn't actually being helpful. It was his tactic.
Yeah, manipulating the situation.
yeah, man, and he was fucking good. So, yeah, there's a whole bunch of crazy details to this. Like he ran a haunted house in his hometown at his mom's house, and his hometown's like 4,000 kids, and I would actually help him run this haunted house, and his big ass would be sitting at the end of the line, so all the kids would go through the haunted house, and he would sit out there and hand candy to all these kids in this small town. And there's no telling how many kids he had been raping, and
Yeah.
to this day, there's only 2 victims that ever came forward about it: me and my best friend, who actually introduced me to the guy. Which I actually just sat down with him yesterday, or a couple days ago. I sat down with him and talked with him, and
How did that go?
yeah, man. So I'd never heard his side of the story, and I thought he had just this like average like life, because he was so stoic. Like that guy was so. He was like a big brother to me, and so I just always looked at him like he was like super stoic, just like he just like you couldn't phase him, and so I wanted to know kind of I never knew about him before I met him. I never knew how he grew up. I never knew about like his family, his brothers, his life. I thought he had a very average life. Turns out it was not the case, and he had a very fucked up life. And even the guy that he introduced me to, which was my sexual abuser, had already been like raping him for several years. At this point, yeah, really, really fucked up. So, anyways, to go back to it, yeah, I start hanging out with the guy, and the touching kind of thing just escalates real quick. It's like the way I think about it, and I'm trying to find the best way to say this, but
it's like the game. Are you nervous?
Huh?
It's like the game. Like, are you nervous? You like place your hand somewhere on the girl. Are you nervous?
Yeah.
No. Are you nervous? No.
Yeah.
You just see how far you can get away with it until it stops.
Brinkmanship. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
You get to the line. And you stay there, and then you keep going to the line until the line moves, and then you go to that line. And then,
and so every weekend, like the way I kind of look at it is like if like when I was dating girls, you know, and like I'm gonna hang out with this girl's first date, like how far we're gonna get on first date, you know, and then second date, and then third date, and then fourth date, and then fifth date, and eventually it's like, oh my god, like eventually we're gonna have sex, like we gotta do something, you know, and so that's kind of how it felt for a long time. And man, this guy was a fucking manipulator. Like, he's just so strong and so powerful with it, that I even see it on myself sometimes, of like me like manipulating or doing that to people, playing not playing mind games, but just understanding how the mind works and understanding how to get people to influence people. I guess, you know.
Right.
So I have to like kind of turn that off sometimes. But anyways. Yeah, so by the time I was like 12 or 13, I had every sexual experience you can have with somebody I'd had with this grown man. So I was scared of having HIV. I was scared of having AIDS. You know, the first orgasm I ever had was with this old man. You know, he was performing oral sex on me, and when the body's aroused, it does what it does. And I'm laying there, and boom, he looks up at me, and he's like, "Did you like that? You know, did you enjoy that?" And I'm sitting here like, what the fuck is going on with my life, man? Like, I was like, what the fuck, man? Like, this is really fucked up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, then Monday, like I said, man, Monday through Friday, I was at home with mom dealing with that bullshit. I was on, you know, we were on welfare our whole lives, but as I got into like 11 and 12, shit got really bad at home, where every single day there was just like 10, 15, 20 people coming in and out of our house smoking crack and coke. I don't know what all they were doing, but they were at least doing crack and coke. And I mean, I was seeing like people on my couch like laying there like a fucking zombie, like so high out of their fucking mind, that, you know, they couldn't even fucking function. And so, and I was like young, and so my bedroom at that house as well, I had hardwood floors, and I had a hole in the ceiling that was like 4 feet wide and like 3 feet deep. So it was like up in the corner of my ceiling, and you could see into the attic, like you could see straight into the attic. And there was no insulation, like no protection from the elements. and I slept on a mattress that was like 4 inches thick on the floor, had a thin little blanket, pissed the bed every single night, woke up freezing cold in my piss every single night, and
Jesus.
it was fucking miserable, and I wanted to die. Like, I just wanted to die. And so that guy was my only reprieve from that life. So on the weekends I'd go to his house every Friday night, and it was pizza, pop, and video games, fucking coffee, energy drinks.
There's a whole
Whatever the
bunch
fuck.
of awesome,
Oh,
fun
yeah.
stuff for a kid, but you had to
Yeah,
pay.
literally. Yep. Pleasure Island.
Yep, exactly, man. And it I mean, it was a good
Warm
time. Like,
bed,
huh?
a warm bed, a
Yeah.
nice, good food, and fun stuff to do. But
yeah, man, it's funny you say that because, yeah, man, like he would cook pizza, or we'd order pizza a lot, but then he would also. It's funny, like these like weird things I always remember. But he would make stir fry all the time, and stir fry was like this. It was just really good, and so we were always excited to go up there and have stir fry because at my house we did not eat meals like that. I mean, we were eating literally. We were taking fucking noodles, egg noodles, and cooking them with butter, so we can get some fucking flavor on them damn things. And I mean, there was a kid that lived behind me who had it pretty bad too, and he would come over to my house to thaw out his Vienna sausages. The Vienna sausages that sit in the fucking cabinets, not even in the freezer. His house was so cold, he'd bring them to mine because it was just a little bit warmer, so they could thaw out. Which is fucking insane to think about.
That is, dude.
Yeah. So, yeah. When I was 12, my mom, in the midst of all this like crack and coke and shit, there was a show called Intervention back in the day, and at the end of every episode, they would say, if you have a family member that needs help, you can contact us at this phone number, this email. And so me and my sisters were at my neighbor's house, and we're watching the show, and we're like, hey, well, we should
Let's
call them, see if we can help out mom. And as we're like concocting this plan, we kind of walk outside or whatever, and there's a fire in my front yard. My mom's boyfriend walks out, and he's got blood all over the front of his shirt, and then my mom comes out and she's like throwing shit, freaking the fuck out, panicking, or yelling and screaming. I'm immediately hysterical, crying my eyes out because I know something bad's about to happen. And so, yeah, I think she stabbed her boyfriend or something like that in the bathroom over some drugs. And the cops show up a few minutes later. They throw her in the back of the car, and I'm sitting there looking at my mom. She's in the back seat, and the glass window is up, and I'm trying to talk to her, and I can't talk to her. Obviously, because the window's up.
She trying to like talk back to you? Or is she trying to like?
Yeah. She was saying like, I'll be back. I'll get you back. Don't worry about it. Stuff like that. And I was just freaking the fuck out because I'm like, you're the only thing we have. Like, what the fuck are we gonna do? Like, And so the cops just like take her away, man. Like, I don't think the cops like talked to us or anybody. They were just like, okay, boom, she's gone.
They didn't make sure you're okay or anything.
I'm sure something happened, but I don't remember like.
Yeah.
Like, I think the cops were like, you guys got these kids? Like, and there's some random ass people were like, sure. Yeah, we're good.
Yeah.
That's ours.
So, yeah, exactly. So, yeah, so they take her away, and that was like that's one of the worst days of my life for sure. I remember that pretty bad, and that day just fucking hurt really bad. So, pretty crazy. Over the next like 4 months, I basically bounced around in different houses, lived with different people. I was still going to school at that time. It was during the winter, but I was still going to school. Managing throughout all this shit. I was like at school. I was like this like perfect student. I was this like straight A student, class clown. Got in some fights. Got in quite a bit of fights, but I was still like I was very very smart. I was really really smart when I was younger. So, anyways, yeah. Boom. My mom gets locked up. I bounce around a bunch of houses. I'm still hanging out with this guy every weekend, getting sexually abused. And then my grandparents, they find me when I was about to. I was still 12 at the time, but they find me at this friend's house that I had been living with, and my mom had called me like a week prior to this, and this is the first time I talked to my mom in like 3 or 4 months. I didn't know where the hell she was at. I didn't know what happened to her, which is crazy.
Yeah.
And I'm talking to her on the phone, and whatever. She's like, where you at? Like, I'm gonna come and get you. And another really hard day in my life where I was 12 years old. I was like, I don't want to live with you anymore. And
Shit.
dude, it's so crazy because like looking back on that, if I'd have just said, oh, I'm at this address, just come pick me up. Like, I don't know where I would have went with my life. Like, I don't know where I'd be in my life if that would have happened. And I just somehow had the courage to say like, I don't want to live with you. And to tell your mom that is like fucking hard.
What happened? What did she say? Yeah.
Well, she freaked out. Yeah, she's like, fuck you. Like, I'm going to come and pick you up. Like, you're my fucking son. Like, you're my fucking responsibility. Blah, 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 blah. And I just was crying and crying and crying. And I was just like, Mom, I don't want to live like that anymore. And so then I guess my grandparents somehow found out and they came and picked me up like a week later because they wanted to try and adopt me. And so I went out to my grandparents' house out in the country and they asked me, like, do you want us to adopt you? Yes, absolutely. And my sisters were there as well. My sisters actually opted to go back and live with my mom, which was fucking dumb. They went back and lived, yeah. So, and
nothing changed.
Yeah, nothing changed. Yeah, so, and my mom was very manipulative as well. So my mom would call my older sister and tell her that she needs to talk to my younger sister and they need to come back and live with her, you know. And I even asked them before they went back, I was like, why the fuck would you go back and live with mom? And they were like, that's our mom. Like, you wouldn't understand because you're a son, not a, you know, it's like some son-daughter shit.
Not a daughter. Yeah.
Yeah, whatever. I was like, yeah, well, and truthfully, like, I chose to stay with my grandparents for not the right reasons. I was like, they have nice cars. They have a fucking warm house. We have food every day. Like, we kind of look like we got money. Like, this is what I want. Like, we got some nice clothes in this fucking house.
Those are good reasons.
Like, I mean, they are good reasons, but at the time, like, that's all I cared about. I cared about like the status of like, I'm not this fucking poor ass kid anymore.
I get what you're saying.
You know, but
material
after,
side of it.
Exactly. But after like a year or two of living with them, I was like happy to like have a family, I guess. I've kind of had a weird dynamic my whole life because when I lived with my mom, we were just, well, even after I moved out of my mom's house and I lived with my grandparents, I've always been like the black sheep of the family on both sides. I've been too good for my mom and my sisters. Like, they look at me like I'm too good for them. And then on the flip side, on my grandparents' side, I'm like, that's so-and-so's son. Like, that's so-and-so's son. Like, be careful with his ass. And, you know, probably
that's
rightfully so because I'm a little fucking crazy. Yeah, it is a weird spot.
Well, I mean, you run ultra marathons, you know, so.
Yeah. So that was like a weird dynamic of like being with my grandparents and being around like all these like normal people who I thought were just like rich and uppity assholes. They were just normal people. But I was always just like, because I had already been through so much shit and so much pain in my life that like every time I looked at somebody and they smiled, I'd be like, fuck you, man. Like, you're fucking happy, like, you fucking piece of shit. You know, I'm like, I just had this like fucking chip, man. It was really bad.
That took a long time to get over.
It did. And see, now I use it in a positive light where when I walk into a room and I know I don't look like this like typical fucking guy or whatever, I'm like, yeah, fuck you. Like, I didn't have a father in my life, and I'm still going to kick your fucking ass. Like, I'm still going to do better than you at this job. I'm still going to be a better father than you. I'm still going to be I'm still going to do everything in my life better than you because I didn't have a father. I grew up around drugs. I grew up around violence. I went through all these horrendous things. So now I use it as a weapon in a positive light as opposed to like, you know, being a victim. Yeah. So, but yeah, so when I moved with my grandparents, though, I told them, I was like, hey, I want to hang out with my friend. And they were like, well, who's this? And I told them, and they're like, yeah, fuck no. And I was like, okay. I was like, well, I was like, that kind of sucks. And then
lost pizza.
Well, and the reason, yeah, exactly.
Stir fry.
Yeah. So they were like, my grandma knew I got molested when I was like 5. I was like 5 or 6, and I got molested by a babysitter.
Oh, and shit.
Yeah, so we told her about that when we were really, really young, and so CPS tried to save us and all this bullshit. It didn't happen. So this was like, that's why my grandma was so particularly protective, right?
Right.
But then I'm like, well, my best friend knows him, and I've known him for a long time now, and he's not like that. He's not like that, right? So they're like, well, we want to meet him. So this fucking douchebag shows up to the house, like pulls up like it's a first date, like taking me out to prom night. He's got his, he dresses up. Well, doesn't really dress up, but he's got his best 5XL red T-shirt on,
Yeah.
and his best cleanest sweatpants that he always fucking wore, and
Jesus. Yeah.
yeah, he looks like the fucking standard fucking child rapist. I swear to
Pedo.
God.
Yeah.
Yeah, he even had like the fucking, like the Jeffrey Dahmer fucking like
Blast.
big,
Yeah. With
dude,
the
yeah, bro, yes,
exactly.
Relax. Just wanna take some
yes, bro,
pictures.
like,
Yeah. Just want to
yeah,
make some stir fry.
Yeah.
exactly,
Just want to take your
and
son out.
so yeah,
So bad.
I know, so he shows up and
He
oh
gets out
fuck,
laughing.
yeah, that relaxed line got me.
Yeah.
So yeah, he shows up and boom, like my grandparents. So he makes my grandparents laugh, and they're like, "Oh, haha, okay." So boom, this guy's part of the family now, right?
And
And right,
Silver tongue.
yeah, man. And so, man, I go up to this fucking guy's house and keep hanging out, and that's when he like right after that. It was like maybe a few months after that is when the first time he raped me, and it sounds bad, and it is bad, but it wasn't like this like brutal like rape session. I always like make these. I like to tell the story this way because it helps people understand that these people who do this are not these violent people, right?
Mhm.
They really don't.
Okay.
They don't come off as violent. They don't. So like one thing he would always do is he would always trim his nails because this motherfucker has some big ass hands and he has some big fucking rough knuckles, big long fingernails. So he would always like trim one or two of his nails so he could use his fingers and
Okay.
without it hurting as bad, right? Which is just so gentleman-like of him, real fucking
sure.
chivalry or whatever,
Yeah.
chivalrous. And so and he always had this like jar of Vaseline next to his bed. And if there's one thing that fucking like gives me a little bit of a fucking chill up my spine, it's probably thinking about Vaseline.
Oh man, and I made that Vaseline ultra marathon joke.
Yeah, that's all right.
Sorry.
No, that's all good. I don't give a fuck. But I opened up, or so whenever he would open up that Vaseline jar, like I could just see the scoop, like the finger scoops,
Right.
and that just like fucks with me. Even like looking at peanut butter, I'm just like, ah. So anyways,
I could imagine, man.
yeah. So, but I'd always looked at that jar of Vaseline like, motherfucker, like one day this is gonna happen to me, And sure as shit, man, I was like 13, and yeah, man, it finally happened. I remember being there naked on his bed, and he was holding me there. I remember his big ass hands on my hips, and he did what he had to do. And when he was done, he cleaned me up with a towel, like I always say, like a gentleman. And I go to the bathroom, and I'm sitting there on his toilet, getting the rest of the shit out of my body. And at that point, I had hit like an all-time low. Like I was like, my fucking life is over. I certainly have some sort of disease. People, if anybody finds out, they're gonna think I'm this fucking raging, fucking gay dude, and they're gonna, and plus when you're young and you're going to school, like, oh my god, man, fucking
Right.
If somebody finds
You
out
think
that
everybody
you're over
knows is what's going on, even though they have no clue because you're so self-conscious.
yeah, man, and it's fucked up. So, so yeah, that happened, and then one of the crazy things I actually just remembered the other day was this guy had actually bought me I've never told anybody this before, because I forgot about it. But this guy had bought me like a leopard thong, and when I was like 12 or 13 or 14 or whatever, he would like make me wear it around his fucking little studio apartment, which is like fucking weird as
Insane.
fuck,
Yeah.
And I remember that now. Like I forgot about it, and then like it just like popped up, and I was like, oh my god, I like fucking completely forgot about that. But super
That's
super
crazy.
weird, yeah. And so to wrap that whole part of my life up, when I was 15, I was about to be 16. I was a month away from being 16. Been up at this guy's house pretty much every single weekend. I had been to his family's events. I knew all of his sisters. I knew his sister's kids. I knew his mom.
Did none of
like
them ever think it was weird that he is
Like
that
a
age and his
12-year-old
friends
hanging
are,
out with a 30-year-old?
adolescents and
dude, I don't fucking know.
Maybe they knew
Because
and just didn't say anything.
yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. You know, so when he first met my older friend, he was still living with his mom, and he lived in his mom's attic, and he was raping my friend in his mom's attic, while
So the
his sister
mom,
also lived there.
so they both saw this little kid just hanging out with this older guy up in the
Yeah.
attic.
Dude, they probably
They-
had some sort of idea or knew and just didn't care.
I don't fucking
Or
know,
were
man. I
afraid
mean,
to
it's
speak out.
yeah, I don't know, but it's fucked up, and I'll kind of get into his family a little bit more. But I mean,
Mhm.
I would go to like all of his family outings though, and I would go to like Christmases, Thanksgivings, and his sister. He has like 3 sisters, and they're married, have kids, and I just was like, I never thought about it then, but at the time now, I'm like, what the fuck, man? Like if my brother showed up to Christmas with a fucking
With
8-year-old
some
boy,
kids.
or yeah, I'm like, who the fuck is this? Oh,
Yeah.
I just started hanging out with him. I'm calling the fucking cops. And I'm calling like
Yeah.
his parents. Like
Mhm.
somebody needs to put their fucking foot down. So if anybody's listening to this and you see some weird shit, put your fucking foot down, because this shit is so fucking common. It is fucking absurd. So
What
like
is
we're
going
talking
through
like
your head when you're hanging out at Christmas with this guy's family, and it's almost just like nightmare and then like normal life,
Mhm.
And like what is going through your head?
It's a lot like being an undercover cop, because when you're out there, you're undercover, right? You're
Mhm.
just living this normal life, and then when you go back to his apartment, now you're back to your other life or whatever. So it's almost like having multiple personalities.
Mhm.
You're just so you're just conditioned to it, and it wasn't a big deal. I was fine. He was such a nice guy. We had so much fun together, and he was a really smart, like good conversation.
What
That
did he
it
do?
just yeah, I was like, yeah, whatever. Like, it is what it is. So we'd go to his outings, and I was just like part of the family. I was just like a family friend, and that was it.
What did he do professionally?
Oh, he worked at Pizza Hut, and then he worked at a factory. So yeah,
That's where the pizza came
Hence
from.
all the pizza. Yeah.
yeah.
Can't
Yeah.
out
Out
Pizza the
Pizza
Hut.
the Hut.
Freaking Brandon.
Yeah,
Dude, get out of
dude.
my
Yeah,
head, bro.
yeah, yeah,
I'm
yeah,
always in
yeah.
your head.
There's some joke in there about, I don't know, butts and huts. I don't know, boys, butts,
Right?
something
Probably.
somewhere in there. I
Pizza
was trying to
Nut
think of
Hut.
something funny. Yeah, there
I
we
don't
go.
know.
Yeah. So, anyways,
Going to hell.
yeah, that's my trauma, guys. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. We're just gonna fucking sit here and laugh through it.
And make jokes.
Yeah. No, I don't give a fuck really. Um. But anyways, so boom, we freaking um. Yeah, we so yeah, so get through it all. When I was 15, I was almost 16. I was up there at his house playing a video game, and I had a younger friend that was with me. I was hanging out with us, and this was the first time that I'd ever seen my younger friend go back to the guy's bed. And this guy lived in like a studio like apartment, like one big ass
Mhm.
room. Back
Yeah.
left corner had some curtains that were like hanging from the ceiling to make off his bed.
Mhm.
So like when I was up there getting molested, and then I have friends over too, like even just like one or two other people, I'd be back there, like 10 feet away was a friend
From
playing
video
video games.
games or yeah.
Yeah, and I'm back here getting fucking abused by this guy. So, at this point, I had already been probably close to like 300, 400 times, based on my math that I have come up with over the course of 5
Insane.
years. Yeah, it is. It was like a full blown like teenage relationship. Like
Mhm.
if I would imagine a 15-year-old, like how many times or a 16-year-old is relating with a woman of his age,
Mhm.
because you only get the weekends, so
Right.
that's kind of how it was. So,
Right.
my friend had gone back to his bed, and I'm playing the video game, and I'm sitting here thinking to myself, because this kid's like 2 years younger than me, and I'm
Mhm.
like, fuck that, man, I'm not letting this shit happen. So I hit up my other buddy who introduced me to the guy on the game, and I said, hey, like, can you come over to my house tomorrow? Boom. Yep. All right, cool. So the guy comes out of his room right as that happens. And it was really weird that he did this. And he walks right up to the game. And we played World of Warcraft. That's what we played.
Okay.
And so in World of Warcraft, there's like a little chat box. And you can scroll up and down, And so when he came out, I scrolled up in the chat to like try to hide that I had sent my friend a message, because I knew that if he saw it, he would know something was up, because he's smart. And I think he did see it, because the whole like mood shifted that night. And I thought he was going to kill me. I thought he was going to kill both of us. I was fucking terrified the whole night. Yeah,
What happened?
dude, it was fucking bad. So he just got quiet, and he just kind of got like he just got very quiet. And so I was always kind of like watching him, kind of like knowing if I needed to get to the door. And so, yeah, we survived the night, whatever. He doesn't kill us, thank God. And we freaking get home the next day. He drops me off first, and he goes to take my other friend home. And when he drops me off, my buddy who I had hit up on the game the night prior shows up like an hour later, right? I know it's kind of hard to follow without me using names, and I apologize.
You're good.
But my older friend shows up, and we're walking around my house, and we're kind of bullshitting, and then we get to my bedroom, and I'm pacing back and forth, and I'm just like, hey man, I've been wanting to tell you this for a long time. Like I don't really know how to say this, and blah blah blah. And I couldn't say the words. I couldn't do it. And my friend just goes, he touched you, didn't he? And I fell apart, start crying, lay on the floor. I'm like fucking about to die, like just sweating, crying profusely.
Yeah.
And the next thing he says to me after like 10 seconds is like, well, he did it to me too. And like, I don't know if you've got a brother or if you have a dad in your life, but like if you just imagine that happening to them, because like your older brother's like your fucking hero, or like your best friend is like your fucking hero. And there's no way that shit could ever happen to him, right? And that's how you feel. And so when he said that, I like turned and looked at him, and I'm like, what the fuck, man?
Yeah.
And I couldn't believe it. I thought I was the only person in the world, and turns out he did too.
That's crazy that you guys were, that close, and like it just never came up. You know what I mean? That's what, like, just the trauma, what it's doing to you.
This sicko though, he definitely had like an MO, like he had like a plan, because
definitely
your friend was a couple years older than you, and the sicko's probably like, well, he's getting older, he's not my type anymore. So then your friend brings you around, you are the age that he's into, and then you just said you had another friend who's younger than you that you were bringing around. So like without you even knowing it, like you just repeating the cycle, and there's probably the friend before your older friend.
Right.
Like,
right.
And once they got to like probably like 15-ish, he's like, all right, I'm done with that. I need another 10,
Yeah, so I think what happens is once you get to like 16, 17, 18, you really want to go out and hang out because you get your license, you were getting ready to go to college.
Yeah.
A lot more
so shit like
independence.
that, that's what gets him away. And that's what happened to my friend. He got his license. He didn't need anybody to drive him around anymore. He had a job, so he didn't need somebody to like buy him shit on the weekends. And then he also was going to college. So when he went to college, it was like he never hung out with us anymore. And I always wondered that too. I was always like, why the fuck is he not hanging out with us? I'm like, he's like 20 minutes away. I was always so confused.
He ain't going back there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So when he said that, he's like, well, what do you want to do? Do you want to report him or do you want to keep it a secret? And I was like, fuck that guy. I was like, we got to get his ass. And so, we go tell my grandparents, and my grandma, as you can imagine, is fucking destroyed because
they let that man into your life.
She tried to do something, and then he earned her trust, and she probably blamed herself.
Yep. So she was fucked up. Plus, this is the second time that it's happened to me now, and so she was pretty tore up. So we call 911. We go down to the hospital, and we get there. We start to do all the rape kit process, and it's kind of cool. The nurses, I always remember this so well. The nurses were kind of like, well, when was the last time this happened? And I said, well, it just happened this weekend, And they're like, okay, they're like, have you taken a shower? Or something like that. And I was like, no, I haven't showered, and I got all my clothes on, because they were wondering how they were going to find the DNA. Like, where are the clothes at that you wore this weekend? And I said, I've still got them on right now. And I knew even at just 15 years old, I knew to not take a shower, to not change my clothes, none of that shit. And so they took my underwear, they took all my clothes, they swabbed me, and they found his DNA in multiple places. And so it's kind of crazy. The cop that walked in that day, I have an interview with him. It's on YouTube. It's on my YouTube channel. But I found him 13 years after the fact, just a couple months ago, and I haven't talked to him since. Since that day. And when I hit him up, I was like, "Hey, like, do you remember me?"
You remember me?
And he was like, "Fuck yeah, I remember you."
Yeah.
I was like, "Holy shit!" Like, I was so scared to talk to this guy because I don't know how cops handle that stuff. Like, if there's like triggers them, and so I was like kind of scared. I didn't want to. Yeah. So I didn't want to bring it up, but I wanted to reach out to him to hear his side of the story because after it all was over with, I never heard anything of like what happened. So, anyways, so that whole interview's up on YouTube, so I won't get into all that. You can go in there and watch that. But what's crazy is when he walked in, I noticed his name, and he had the same name as my teacher, who I had like a few years prior. So it's like coincidentally, this lady who was my teacher about the time that I started getting molested was his wife. So it's just like this like super coincidental
weird
shit.
thing.
Yeah, man. So when he walked in, I was like, oh, like couples, like I know that name. And so he talks about it in the interview. We immediately had like a commonality, like a bond, and so he handles this case really well. And what's so impressive is that it was his first ever sexual assault case in 12 years. He'd been on the road for 12 years. This is his first sexual assault case. So he was nervous, but he freaking knocks it out the park. He gets the guy to admit to it, like not in custody. So it's a really big deal. And he goes into the whole story about how he gets him down to the station and everything willingly, which is fucking crazy. Yeah, gets the guy to go down there. And
I bet that usually people who are that way, they tend to think they're really, really smart. And so actually a lot of sexual predators or like murderers, they think they're smarter than the cops. So I'll willingly go there because I will prove my innocence easily.
Yeah.
And they don't realize that they're actually really stupid.
Yeah.
And they got. So
big facts.
Yeah. Yeah, and well, they almost did lose him for a second. He was saying in the interview, and then this other cop comes in and kind of like busts his balls a little bit, and so he finally admits it. But he only admits to a couple like small things, like nothing serious. And so whatever, they arrest him, and like a month later, he goes to trial or whatever, does his thing. He gets sentenced to 10 years in prison for having almost 10 years of pleasure with at least 2 little boys. And so that's a real fuck. Yeah, man. Yeah. So I'm in the process of looking and navigating, changing some of this shit as I tell my story, because it's really fucked up. What it's done to me, what it's done to my friend, and what it'll continue to do to other people. There's so many of these stories out there. They're just fucking fucked up.
Definitely.
So that
and people don't get enough.
He's out now. He's free.
He would be.
He died. He died in prison.
Yeah. Yeah, he died in 2019. I was in Afghanistan. He applied for parole or whatever, made a request for parole, and he was denied, and then he died like 2 months later.
How did that feel? Learning that he was dead.
I didn't really give a fuck. I mean, I didn't really care. Like I just when it happened. So I'll go back to like when I reported him. People asked me like, "What'd you do?" Well, I never got any therapy. I never saw any doctors. I never like had this like formal healing process. I just like woke up the next day like, well, fuck, I ain't got no plans this weekend. So I was like, all right, I don't know what the fuck I'm gonna do. So I guess I'm just gonna play video games by myself. And that was like the extent of the impact that it had on me at the time.
It
just ended.
Yeah. It wasn't a big deal to me. And my friend who's older, this whole time he's been fucked up. Like he's been worried that this guy's gonna get out and kill him, look him up and kill him. Because you can find anybody on Facebook or whatever, and it's just So he's been worried about those things. So when he died, that offered my friend a lot of reprieve and like release of stress.
That's good.
He's still fucked up, but for me, the last like few years, I've really gone through like a healing kind of journey, and it's been very helpful. Especially the last like 6 months to a year, it's been very helpful. But yeah, when he died, I didn't really care. I wasn't seeking like any kind of crazy vengeance. If he would have gotten out, I don't know how I'd feel about that. You know, I don't know how I'd feel about that. Thinking about it now, but
Vigilante status.
Hey man, I'm not gonna say anything that's gonna like put me on a watch list, but
no.
There's that like famous picture, or I think it's a video, but there's a picture that comes from it of the father who just like blasts that. Yeah. He blasts that guy as he's like walking. His son
is still alive. I wish I could remember his name. He wrote a book. Yeah. It's called like what was his dad's name?
I can't remember either.
Like Mark or something. The book's called like Why Mark Why. Yeah. Was what the other guy yelled when he shot and killed him. But yeah, hell yeah, man.
Didn't I'm pretty sure that the judge like was as easy.
All he got was community service.
Yeah, it was like,
oh wow.
Yeah, I want to see. Maybe let me just look it up. Yeah,
see if you can find
That's pretty cool.
Keep talking.
Yeah, there was. I remember the judge was all like, "Yeah, I get it." Like you.
Yeah.
Gary. Yeah, okay. Gary Plauché.
Yeah.
Gary Plauché. Let me see. I'm gonna look up his sentence real quick here.
I'll see if we find
7 years suspended. 7 years suspended sentence. 5 years probation. 300 hours community service, which he completed in 1989. So yeah, suspended sentence. 5 years of probation.
Do you guys know about Clark Fredericks? Have you ever heard of him?
I have not.
Dude, fucking crazy story.
Who is that?
So you guys have to look him up, but he's got a fucking wild ass story. But basically, he was raped by a priest, police chief, and like Boy Scout leader. Like this guy was like the fucking Triple Crown winner of like.
It's the same person, but this is you need all these things. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think he might not have been a priest. I think he was, but he was certainly the police chief.
Some sort of alderman or something, maybe.
Yeah. He was like in the police force and Boy Scout leader as well. But he had raped this dude.
Trifecta.
And so Clark, like 30 years later, goes back and fucking murders the guy in his house, stabs him to death, cuts his throat like fucking hardcore. And I say this, and Clark will talk about it now, where like it people say it all the time to him, like, did that help you? And he's like, no, it didn't fucking help. It sent his life down a fucking even worse path than what it was, because he ended up going to prison. But when he went to prison, he only got, I think he got 5 years, so he got like the bare minimum sentence, compared to a life sentence. But he has a whole story about it. It's fucking insane.
His prison experience. I was gonna say, I wonder what his prison experience was like. When people learn like why he was in there. Did he ever say that to you? Just out of curiosity, like.
Yeah, he talks about it a lot. Yeah, he talks about it a lot. He talks about he joined like AA groups in there or something like that. But he was talking to a lot of guys about healing and trauma and things like that, and overcoming these things. And he got out of prison. And now he's like a freaking motivational speaker. He actually just started a podcast, and I'll be on his podcast here next month.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, but I saw his story, so I reached out to him, and I was just like, hey man, like, do you know anybody that could kind of help me get my story out? Because I've been talking to you guys, for an hour and 20 minutes or whatever, and I mean, we're just like barely touched the surface. I kind of like high level covered everything, but if I get into the real details of everything, I mean, it's fucking dark and it's twisted but I'm a very good storyteller too, I think, anyways, at the same time. So,
very willing to get into all those details. Like, I have no qualms about if you have no qualms about it. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but anyways, yeah. So Clark Fredericks is another great guy to look up, and another awesome story.
Found his website.
Yeah. That guy's fucking hardcore, man. That guy, holy shit. So, anyways, yeah, so I didn't really have a big impact. Like, I never got any therapy or nothing like that. And then I whatever, man, like, I moved on with my life, and everything kind of came back and hit me when I was 21, 22, 23, something like that, getting out of the Army. I watched the R. Kelly documentary, and when I was watching that, they talk. R. Kelly kind of talks about like when he was young, when he was like 10, 11, 12, or whatever, he was having sex with all these grown women. And so by the time he was like 18 or 19 or 20, however the fuck old he was, he was doing the same shit that was happening to him to younger girls and whatever. Once again, not defending the guy, but he was not in the right place, and like he didn't have the right people around him, and he
Mind had been
got
warped.
yeah, man. I mean, it fucks you up, dude. I mean, I can't say that I wouldn't have done the same thing if I was in his shoes. You're a fucking millionaire, and you've been having sex with women your whole life, like since you were like 10, and
it's crazy.
It's a really unfortunate situation for him and for the girls. Like if that he did everything he did too. It's unfortunate on both sides, um, but anyways, when I watched that documentary, that brought back a lot of like memories, and it made me realize like why I was the way I was. Like for example, if my wife wants to be intimate and she is like touching me, right? And I just don't feel like because I'm tired or whatever. But then she keeps like touching, or she pulls my shoulder, and I'm like, it takes me back to like this old man.
Damn.
Come on, like come on, man, like come on, like just
Yeah.
So it fucks me up, and or if my wife grabs my ass, like I can't. She don't do that no more, but she used to do it, jokingly, and like we don't do that shit. Like so, so it's shit like that that'll like fuck you up, and but the mental things that it does to you, it's just really bad. It just you have a short temper, and like I said, I'd walked around my whole life looking at people that would smile, and I'd be like, what are you so fucking happy about, you fucking piece of shit? Like, fuck you, bro.
Just the anger inside you.
Yeah. So when I saw that documentary, that kind of sent me down a bad path. I was as close to killing myself as I'd ever been. And, I mean, I really wanted to die. And then I got out of the Army, and everything kind of went away. All the stress kind of went away. And I got into construction, worked for the third largest home builder in America. And I got when I was there for about a month, and I told there was a guy who won the construction manager of the year for 2 years in a row, and I sent him a text, and I said, hey man, I said he got promoted, and he became my boss, and I said, hey man, I'm glad you got promoted because I was coming for your spot. And I've never fucking worked in construction in my life. Like I don't fucking know shit about nothing.
Yeah.
But I told him that, and I kind of like figured out the game kind of quick in the residential building world. And so within like 3 months of being there, I was number one on the leaderboard in the division, which is like all these like major metrics. They track them, and then boom, that's how they put who's number one. And there's like 40 or 50 of us. So for the first time in my life, I had seen my name at the top of something, and it was also in a leaderboard that everybody else had to look at every fucking week. So I was like, let's fucking go. I was like,
look at
Seth. Exactly, dude. I mean, dude, it was such a big deal to me, man. I mean, just to see my name on top of all these other names, and like I said, the reason why it's such a big deal is because all these motherfuckers had mom and dad. They got grandma and grandpa to help them. They got X, Y, and Z. Like
Proving
they don't
yourself.
fucking. Yeah, man. It's just a fucking man. I loved it. So we get through the first year, and I was the construction manager of the year for the first year. I was like number 13 in the country out of over 1,000 construction managers. The following year, within 3 months, I was number one on the leaderboard in the entire company nationwide, and I held that spot for like 6 months, and then I moved on to a different company like a dumbass. I was at the top of the food chain, and then I left. Like it was a fucking emotional decision.
Challenge.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. Well, see, that's the unfortunate part about like the way I grew up, and then what the Army does to you too, because they call it like a PCS something.
Yeah.
Where
permit change station.
When you get out of the when you get out of the Army, you're so used to moving around every 2-3 years that like when you're in a job for 2 or 3 years, you're like, I gotta go, So
I feel you, man, because I grew up as a military brat, and then I joined the military. So like I have literally, just my whole life.
Yep.
Every couple of years.
Going back to you leaving, every champion used to be a contender, and you just liked contending, and you're at the top, and you're like, I gotta go be a contender somewhere else.
Dude, that's really kind of how it was. And when I left there, I went to another home builder, and they had been trying to recruit me for a while. And I left that company because they were fucking fucked up sideways.
Mhm.
And yeah, like the guy who's supposed to train me told me to get the fuck out of his house one day or whatever at work, and I was just like, I will beat your fucking ass. So
How'd that
please don't
go?
fucking. Well, yeah. The guy who's supposed to train me, like I
Mhm.
said, I was in one of his houses, and he told me to get the fuck out one morning. And so, as an adult, I won't really fight anybody because it's not
Mhm.
worth it.
Yeah.
Despite being able to probably whoop most people. Well, I'm not gonna say that. I probably can't whoop most people's asses, but it's just not worth the fucking fight.
Especially when you got kids and
Yeah, man. I'm just gonna shoot you anyways. Like, and then we're both gonna go, like.
yeah, Indiana
I've said
Jones
that-
style,
I've said that so many. My younger brother Calvin always be like, "Why are you so hostile sometimes, Zach?" And it's like, well, I'm not gonna fight anyone. I'm just gonna shoot him. Like I'm not here to fight you. I'm just gonna end this immediately. Moving on.
I've thought about that. Where like if somebody presses me outside of a gas station or something like that, I'm just gonna lay down and let them kick me in the face like 3 times to make it look like my life was in danger.
Yeah,
and then I'm gonna then I'm gonna put like 9 in them. Just like,
and another thing too is if I ever actually did get to like into a fight, I'm not like playing fair. I'm gouging I'm gouging out eyes immediately.
Well, yeah.
Plus Zach is like 4'9".
Yeah.
So
I'm twisting dicks. Like that one guy's like, grab his dick and twist it. Like, I'm doing that.
Oh, dude, yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
like,
man,
that's
bro.
the first move.
Yeah. I'm 100%. I've thought about it where
dude
if
sitting there
somebody
going
walks,
like this, getting ready to actually like fight you, and I just no, we're done. It's over.
Dude, I always tell everybody like if somebody walks into like a place to shoot the place up, I'm just gonna pull my gun out and shoot myself just to throw them off, you know?
off,
Yeah,
right?
they'll be like, "What the fuck?" And the guy just like,
active shooter stops like.
Is he
just
okay?
took all of his fun from him, I guess. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, exactly.
Oh shit! Wow, this is not fun anymore, right?
Exactly. Yeah, it's like, motherfucker. Like, I'm not gonna let you kill me. You fucking. If I'm gonna die, I'm going out by my own terms. All right. So,
like forever, everybody's like, I don't know what happened. This guy walked in and opened fire, and then his other guy killed himself. Like, was that a plan? Did they know each other? Yeah, that's gonna be one of those TikToks with fucking everybody's like
trying to break it down. What was the motive?
Yeah. But no. So, anyways, yeah. So I did very well in construction when I first got in, and that was really cool. I got an award from the National Association of Home Builders and the Home Builders Institute. Went out to Las Vegas for that, and once again, I got to get on this stage and like talk to a bunch of fucking millionaires, and they gave me this award, and nobody knows what the fuck this award is, and like it doesn't really mean anything. Probably, I don't know, but it meant a lot to me, and I told them that when I was on the stage. I was like, once again, this shit means a lot to me because you motherfuckers have no idea what I've been through to be here, and statistically speaking, it's just insane the odds that I beat. Yeah, like when you grow up without a father, you're already at risk for a bunch of shit. Then you live in poverty. That's another one. Then you get sexually abused. Then you're automatically a statistic for XYZ, drug addict, all this other shit. Then you become a combat veteran. Well, now you're likely to do whatever, right?
Even more layers.
Yeah. So it's been really cool, man. And I won that award and went out there and balled out in Vegas for a few days, and that was pretty cool. And then since then, I'm still in construction. I work at like an office job now for a commercial company. It's pretty cool. And I've spent a lot of time helping veterans out, trying to help veterans get good jobs and helping them with their resumes and shit like that. Yeah. So, and then in the last like 6 months, I've kind of picked up on writing my book. My book should be done, like I said, later on this year. And I've kind of kicked off my speaking career in a more serious manner. And yeah, man. So I've got a crazy passion. Like I'm very passionate about what I do, what I say, and the things that I've been through. And like I think I said it earlier on here, is that when I do speak, the fucking room is like dead ass silent, and it's a testament to my presence, but also my ability to capture the audience, and to get people to listen and have that command of the room. So it's pretty cool.
I have a question kind of like about your contention, right? So I did not have the same experience you did growing up. You know, my dad was in the military, deployed a lot, you know, so I mean, like, had some, you know, my mom was a single mom for a while, but nothing crazy, you know. So but anyway, I have for a long time had that sort of same feeling where, like, if I'm going to do this, I have to be the best at it. I have to win. I will do what I normally do. Like, I do way more than everybody is going to do, because I just know that, like, even I think, you know, you've all worked professionally for a while, you know, the people that just actually do their job typically stand head and shoulders above a lot of other people, because just doing the bare minimum is almost more than most are willing to do in the first place. You
Yep.
know what I mean? But I have sort of realized that as I was nearing the end of my time in the military, because I did 15 years, that all of this shit I was doing to win awards and, you know, trying to compete with other people, that I was really just throwing things into a hole and trying to fill, like, this void essentially to validate myself. Okay. And I got my own reasons for it. But, like, do you ever feel like that is kind of what you're doing? Or is there a certain, you know, is there something else? You know what I mean?
Yes, certainly. I've definitely had those feelings where, like, even when I kind of came out about my story, and I'll be honest with you, like, when I first started posting about this shit, I I was like, man, and I told my wife, because my wife is kind of helping me because I'm not very social media savvy. So
Mm-hmm.
I've got it figured out now. I'm pretty fucking good. But anyways, she was
The
helping me,
best.
and yeah. So I, at first, when we first started posting some shit, I was like, this is kind of clickbaity. Like, this is kind of like,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know if this is answering your question or not, but I was when I won my awards and things like that. Those things feel really good, but nobody really gives a fuck.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, yeah, and I don't really care about them either. I mean, they're important to me, but nobody really gives a fuck. It's the same thing being in the army. Like, you can serve 20 fucking years, 30 years, like, nobody really cares. And people say they care about the soldiers and all this shit. It's like, dude, you say that, and then, like, tomorrow you're gonna wake up, you go get your fucking coffee, you're not gonna think twice about anything.
Yeah.
Um, it's real, but and I don't blame them for it. It's really hard to have that compassion for something if you've
For
never,
anybody.
yeah, yeah, if you've never been a part of it, if you've never,
Mm-hmm.
I think I have a very unique compassion for people because of what
Mm-hmm.
I've been through. That I just want to see people be happy, and, like, when I see somebody who's sad, I think it's cool to make them happy. So to answer
Mm-hmm.
your question about, you know, throwing things in a hole, even when I kind of first started writing my book, and I first kind of came out with my story, because I've always told my story, but I've never told the sexual abuse part of it, because that's always been
Okay.
just a very shameful part, right? So
Yeah.
I just brought that to the light 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago,
Wow.
and yeah, so I've had a lot of people reach out to me and tell me that I've helped them, that they're getting therapy, or that they knew this, or they know somebody, but they always revert back to, like, we had no idea that you were going through that, and we feel so bad for you, and, you know, we feel sorry for you and all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so, but when I first started writing my book and all this, I'm like, nobody's gonna read this shit. Like, nobody gives a fuck. Like, if I write this book, like, it's not gonna make a difference. But what I have found that helps me is just if I'm helping other people, if what I'm doing is inspiring somebody else to do something or making them feel better, that is fucking helpful. Like, when I went and spoke
Mm.
to these kids last week, I had like 5 or 6 kids walk up to me, like, crying afterwards, like, hugging me, like
Oh,
they had
wow.
been through the same shit, or they knew their friends were going through it and they didn't know what to do, or XYZ. And so, um, you know, I could see myself. I mean, one of the kids made me cry, and I was like, God damn it, dude.
What
Um,
happened? Like, just what he had to say about, like, what was going on, or?
Actually, it's he couldn't talk. That's what made me cry. Because I know what that feels like. I could see the tears in his eyes, and if he would have started talking, he would have
Mm.
just broken down. You know, so he was standing there, like, nice and tall, and this is kind of what you do sometimes, because when you're trying not to cry, you'll stiffen up. You know,
Yeah.
and then you know you'll just, like, nope, because as soon as you come down, it's like a bodily natural thing. As soon as you come down and you
Things.
relax, like,
Yeah.
yeah, those emotions start flowing, right?
Squeezing the
So
rag and the water comes out.
yeah, man, yeah. And so he was standing there, like, nice and tall, and I could see the tears in his eyes, and he said, "Hey, thank you." And I said, hey, man, no problem, brother. And he's like, thank you, sir. And I said, hey, it's all good, man. He said, and all he could say was, thank you, sir. He kept saying it. And I was like, you good, dog? And I like kind of,
No.
and I think I'm just so personable when I come to these kids. Like I don't ever try to be like somebody that I'm not. And so I dapped him up, gave him a hug, and I was like, "You good, dog?" And then I was like, "You're gonna make me cry, bro." And I did, man. I had to like clear up my eyes because I could see myself in him, and it was so impressive that he wasn't crying. He was fighting back those feelings. And I don't know if impressive is the right word, but he was fighting back those feelings, those emotions, and I felt fucking bad for the kid because I could see he kind of disclosed a couple things to me, nothing too crazy, but
Yeah.
I could see myself in him, and I knew what it was like to be that age, and that's what I told the kids when I went in there and I spoke to them. I told those kids, when I was your age, people come and talk to me too, but nobody had been through what I've been through, like these people that would come and talk to me would tell me, if we pray about it, everything will go away.
Yeah.
And it's like, look, man, like
No.
you motherfuckers must not have ever had a fucking bad day in your life because this shit ain't fucking working.
Right.
And I go home every fucking night and I try this shit and it don't fucking work. So that's why I told the kids. I didn't tell them that part, but I did tell them that I come from where you come from.
Yeah.
If you come from where I come from, I'm talking to you today. If you don't, I'm still talking to your ass because you need to help these fucking kids. And that's what I
Especially with
said.
that kid who was being quiet, because it resonates with what you told us earlier when
Yeah.
you finally like talked to your
Yeah.
your older friend. You couldn't
Yeah.
say the words, you were just quiet, and he had to say it for you. That kid is probably in the same spot, couldn't say it, and he was happy
That's exactly
you said
right.
it for him.
That's exactly right. That's why I was like so like, shit, man. So but that's so to answer your question about kind of you feel like you're filling up a void or whatever. I've had a few people reach out. Well, I've had a ton of them now, but everybody always says this, and it's kind of cliche, but it's so true. If it's just one or two people that you help out, dude, that's good enough, man. That's one or two lives that you saved or that you might have changed. And I don't know, man. And 10 years from now or 15 years from now, one of these fucking kids might reach out to me and be like, "Hey, man, you changed my fucking life that day."
Yeah.
Or and
No,
that's super
definitely.
cool.
No, I mean, like, and the helping people aspect is definitely going to give you that sense of I don't know, accomplishment doesn't feel like the right word, but I think you know what I'm trying to say. But like,
Yeah.
I think I just realized that all of these things that I was doing, sense of purpose for sure, but all these things that I was doing, I was throwing them into a hole. They weren't making me feel better. Like I won something or I did something good.
Yeah.
I didn't feel good about myself afterwards. There was
Okay.
nothing. Like, and so it was almost like, okay, well now I'm going to do this and I'll feel good after it. And it didn't work. Right. And so like, I think that doing it for self-validation because I had, all of these things going in my head telling me I'm not good enough. And if I just do this, then I'll feel good enough. If I just do this, I'll feel good enough. But whereas, now what you're doing in helping people, I think that's part of what we as humans have to figure out is for this journey, right? Is helping people is where that sense of purpose, like you said, Zach, comes from. And it's not doing all this shit. It's not, you're not, seeking out self-validation. It is throwing things into a void and helping out other people like what you're doing, and I realized, I guess near the end of my career that none of this shit I'm doing is making me feel any better. And I should just focus on the people in my small circle more than anything. And I don't mean like people at work. I meant like my family, you know what I mean?
When
And
I was little,
that is where that purpose comes from. Sorry, Zach, go ahead.
No, you're fine. When I was little, and I'd be like real frustrated or angry or whatever, my dad would always tell me, "Go help someone; it'll make you feel better." And it would. I'd go to my brother, "What are you doing? What do you need help with?" Or I'd mow the lawn for my dad, or I'd just do some small task to help someone. I was a kid, so I can't like do a lot, I guess, at that time, but it always make me feel better, and it's something I still do to this day. So I think like Brandon, you're talking about like you're always like chasing this new thing or getting that award, trying to fill that void, but you didn't realize that those awards that you were chasing or the stuff you're doing to fill the void was probably still helping people around you. Like I know, like when you and I were deployed, there's a ton of airmen there who are so much better off you being there than if you weren't there. And when you left, because you're forced to leave, it definitely changed. Like there was a lot of people who were affected by it. So I know you were thinking you're just trying to fill a void and you got to focus on that, but there's a lot of people who are very thankful for having you around and having you being there taking care of them. So,
well, I don't even know what to say to that. That
yeah, just
it feels good,
about it.
Yeah, but it's just anyway. I felt like I recognized that in you, Seth, like you were saying, like you're doing all this stuff and like that the sense of accomplishment I got from it was a very superficial level, and it was always outward. It was never an inward reflection of like how I actually felt. You know what I mean? So,
yeah, I guess now listen to you kind of reiterate it. Yeah, for me, it's probably a lot different for me because of not ever having anything. So I just anytime I win, like when I wake up, I win. Like I just that's just I won. Like
all I do
that's how
is
I feel. Yeah,
All I
like
do
I
is
just
win, no matter
yeah,
what.
man. Like I don't know, man. It's weird. Like I just everything that comes to me in my life, um, especially the things that I know I really worked hard for, I always feel really good about them. I know that that's not like the buck doesn't stop there. Like I know that
definitely.
you have to keep going, and I always keep myself in that mindset. But when I get a win, I freaking dude, I'm like ready to go. Like I'm fired up, and you definitely have your low points where you're just like oh, this shit's not working, or I don't know if you guys know who Nick Lavery is, but so I went and watched him. Yeah, I went and watched him speak a few weeks ago, and I got to talk to him afterwards, and he signed my book, and well, he signed his book for me.
Right. No, that's
and
awesome.
I got to talk to him for a few minutes, and it's funny. I've told the story on several podcasts now, but I'll tell it again. When I got to talk to him, I told him, I was like, hey man, like I'm about to kick off my speaking career, and I'm writing a book right now. Like, do you have any advice? Like, what can I do? And he was like, he kind of looks at me for a second, and I think he was about to give me like the typical, like, oh, that's
generic,
awesome. Yeah. But he was like, it's fucking hard, man. He's like, I'm going to tell you right now, it's a fucking grind. And I was just like, let's fucking go. I was like, dude, I'm fucking, and that,
Because you're
it
back
just
to
fired,
being the contender,
dude.
trying
Yes,
to become
bro.
the champion.
Bro, like when he wasn't doubting me, I don't think at all, but he was just keeping it real, right? He was just like, it's fucking hard. Like if you want to do it, it's hard. And I was just like, so when you say that, there is a chance that it, could not happen, or there's a struggle to be taken, right? There's a fight, there's a fucking battle. And so when I see that, I'm like, let's go, man. Like I want it. Even if I lose, I want to get in there and fucking fight because it's about the man in the arena,
Love it.
When you make that walk into the arena, everybody is going to be chirping. Everybody's going to be saying, you're not ready, or they're going to kick your ass, or you're going to fail. And I even just heard this the other day. Especially when you start something new, like I'm writing a book. I just built my website last night or today actually, and it's not popular. My YouTube channel has 1,000 views, so everybody out there who's looking at my YouTube saying this shit sucks, well, they're right. And they're going to be right for the next 3 months, and they're going to be right for the next 6 months, and they're probably going to be right for the next fucking year or 2 years or 3 years.
Right.
And they're always going to be right that I'm not popular enough, I'm not famous enough, I'm not selling enough books, I'm not getting enough views, I'm not getting enough clicks. And the hardest part about being successful is that the doubters, they only have to say it one time and they're right for a long fucking time. They can say you're never going to be successful, you're never going to be famous, you're never going to make money off of this. And they're going to be right for, like I said, a year, 2 years, 5 years, and then one day they're wrong.
Yep.
Right? And then they're never to be fucking heard of again. Yep. And so it's just like that man in the arena kind of mentality. It's like, get out there and get in that motherfucker and fight and deal with the consequences. But I'll be damned if I'm going to sit on the fucking sidelines and watch somebody else go out there every day and fight and lose and fucking or eventually win, and I'm sitting over here talking about what fucking shoes he should have wore. You know,
Dude,
like
absolutely, man. That fucking mentality of watching somebody do something and thinking to yourself, like, I can do this, I can do it better. I know I resonate with that completely. And and we're by no means a big podcast at all, but like this is a grind every fucking day. It literally is a grind. There's always something to do to keep it moving. It's not what I thought it was. And I've learned a lot along the way. Zach and I have been doing this for over a year now. And, it's just the way it's morphed in my effort level and what I know I have to do and like getting better. Cause if you scroll all the way back, you know what I mean? The shit I was posting, like some of our early episodes, like, what is this janky ass shit? You know what I mean? And it is janky as fuck. And I hate, like, when someone asks, and I make a reference like, oh, this one conversation we have with this one person, I'm like, yeah, but the episode is super fucking weird. So if you watch it, it might be kind of shitty quality. Yeah, horrible quality. So don't fucking judge me too hard.
Start like episode 12.
yeah, exactly. Started at the bottom. Now we're here, sort of thing, even though we're not there. But yeah.
You know what's great about that though is so I'll fucking get them. I'll fucking give you another little fucking thing that I love to talk about because my jiu-jitsu coach just dropped this on me. Where it's like share your progress, like share your progress while you're going through it, right? So everybody wants to like get six pack abs, right? Everybody wants to get shredded, and then they won't take no fucking pictures until they're fucking shredded. They won't show you how fucking fat they were, how
no progress pics.
No progress pics during the time. They may take all those pictures and post them all at the end, but they're not going to show you in week 6 when they're fucking they're tired and they're hungry and they want to give up, and they're not going to show you week 8 when they relapse and they put on a pound
went
or two.
To Dunkin's.
Yeah, they're not going to show you that shit. They're going to show you in fucking 12 weeks when they're fucking shredded.
You say broke curfew?
Yeah, went to Dunkin's.
Oh my curfew. God. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so, dude, you know what? Even better. I'm glad you said that because in my book, I talk about this shit in my book where I'm like, look, man, like this shit is fucking funny, but I even have like my pretty much special forces story, where everybody is pretty much infantry.
Yeah.
I have my like pretty much special forces story where we graduated basic and me and like 10 guys took a picture together. And I put it on Instagram, and I'm like, future special forces candidates, and I tag Fort Benning like a fucking dumbass.
Way to go!
Yeah, so
young, dumb, and full of cum, just out there fucking stunting.
Bro, oh my god!
Chief of staff of the army. Tag.
Yeah. So the guys at the student company for special forces
saw it.
Oh yeah, and they printed it off and they put it all over the barracks. And they were like, when this guy gets here, we're gonna fucking kill him,
bro.
And somebody messaged me on Facebook and they were like, hey, just so you know, you need to delete everything.
Murder you.
Yeah. So that's my like, but that story's in my book too. But it's funny,
hilarious,
dude. It is fucking good. But people are ashamed to talk about those things or to talk about like the bad shit. I talk about it now, and I've already been through it. But the other day, I made a post. And I put it on Instagram and I said, you know what? Fuck it, man. I'm just going to give a book update and a life update because it's just not going good right now.
Yeah.
Like right now, I just found out that I got basically fucking scammed by my previous editor for like $5,000.
What? How the fuck did that happen?
Yeah, it's a fucking long ass story, but
okay.
I can. Yeah, so and then I got on with a new editor, which is going to cost me close to $10,000 to finish my book. Me and my wife owe taxes this year, which is a few grand. Then she backed up out of the garage and ripped the garage door down.
Right? So that's
yeah, right.
Well, that's like 4 or 5.
Right. That was the third one.
Multiples of 3s.
Editor issues, taxes, broken garage. That's 3. You're good.
He's like, well, let me finish.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, we're going in 6s today, boys.
So it's another set of 3.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but anyways, all this shit kind of coming down. And so you know what they say, when it rains, it pours. And I talk about this in my little fucking soapbox that I posted. And it's like, I have a couple options here, right? I can give up and quit. I can stop writing my book, and that'll get rid of all those expenses, like $10,000 or so that's going to take to market and all this bullshit. I could not get my garage door fixed. I could just I could just give up and quit, right? I could get rid of all these other things, but I have a book, I have a powerful message. So the right thing to do is the fucking hard thing to do, which is put my fucking boots on, go to fucking work, and do what the fuck needs to get done, and that's it. That's it. So, but I shared that video because shit is not fucking sweet right now, and it might always look like that, but I'm
social
not. I
media
would
is good
say
at that.
exactly, and I'm not like struggling, but there are some stressors that I've certainly hit in the last few weeks, and I've got some big plans, and I've got to like really kind of count my fucking pennies to make them all happen over the
You
next
will.
6 months. And and I will. That's the thing with me is like my resolve has already been tested. Like I'm fucking good. Like there ain't no fucking. I always say like there ain't no bitch in this blood. Like I'm good. So
yeah. Joe Rogan's podcast I listened to, but he said something. Every day you got to fight your inner bitch, and I was like, that's some true shit right there, bro. I feel like, isn't it funny how all of these things we grew up maybe hearing people who were older say, like, oh, that sounds so trite, or like, yeah, okay, so cheesy. It's so fucking true, right? All you gotta do is not quit, right? Or
yeah.
you could just give up, but no, you don't. You know what I mean? It's like all these things, but they're the fucking truth. And you grow up and you think you know better, and you fucking don't. My dad used to make this joke all the time. He's like, why don't you just move out now while you know everything, and you'll be good to go? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Yeah, not at all. So
Yep. I was just talking to somebody the other day about this shit again, and there's another thing I saw where it's like talking about you're just every decision that you make, every opportunity that comes up is a chance to, or an opportunity to condition your mind, right? So if you come up to the fork in the road and there's a fucking bad road and there's an easy road, you're gonna, if you take the fucking easy road every single time, you're just conditioning your mind.
Yeah.
It's just like being in Afghanistan. If you take that fucking route that just looks fucking perfect, that nobody's on for some fucking reason, you're probably gonna get fucking smoked.
Probably a reason there. Yeah.
Exactly. So take that fucking shitty route and condition your mind to take those hard routes. When the clock goes off at 4:30, condition your mind to take the hard route. This is kind of like something super minimal, but my wife walked in a couple weeks ago. She had left, and I don't know what the fuck she was doing, but she came home, and I was with my daughter, and I was braiding my daughter's hair, and my wife walked in and said, "What the fuck?" She's like, "How the fuck? I didn't know you knew how to braid her hair." And I was like, "Well, I fucking didn't."
That's right.
And then 3 minutes ago,
YouTube.
exactly. Yeah, dude. Yeah, I said 3 minutes ago she walked up and asked me, so I fucking pulled it up on YouTube. I was like,
everything. I rebuilt my carburetor on YouTube.
Yeah, I mean, it's like people will give up on the.
It's my one story, bro. Yeah,
dude, I'd be proud of that shit too. I tried to rebuild a carburetor and I fucking fucked it all up. But anyways,
just for context, it was a lawnmower carburetor. So
same.
Yeah,
same.
Whatever, bro. It was on YouTube.
You gotta link
I
up
learned.
With Brandon. He'll
dude,
lawnmower carburetor service.
I spent fucking 8 hours on YouTube fucking trying to fix my fucking lawnmower, and then I just sold it for $10. So.
Yeah, right. Somebody will do something with it. They found a better YouTube link.
Exactly. Yeah. but no, that's the thing is nowadays people are so quick to give up on everything, and it's like, or just to say I don't know, I don't know how to do that, and it's like, especially around my house, I almost paid somebody to build my website. I almost paid somebody like fucking $1,500 to build my website. And I got on there today and I did it for $150 fucking dollars.
Dude, I was built ours on Google and did it myself. Google Pages. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, dude, I would have been fucking furious because people see that, right? People, and I mean, I respect the hustle where they see a need. People need websites for different things. And
it's
so then
lucrative.
you say, well, yeah, I'll get on here and do it for you.
Can't bag on them.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not knocking them, but if I would have paid for that shit and then found out what the fuck they did to do it, I'd have been like, you motherfucker. Because it's just one of those things where it's like anything that you can pay somebody to do, you can probably do yourself. Now there is a point where the efficiency and things like that do come into play. Like
I'm not going to rewire my house. I'm going to hire an electrician for sure.
Yeah, or well, there's probably a YouTube video for that. But
how did you die?
Yeah, like when I was trying to fucking fix my lawnmower, I probably should have just fucking paid somebody $15 to fix the goddamn carburetor. But I
Yeah,
sat
I
there
did
for
it.
fucking 8 hours and then I broke it anyway. So
Right.
I do the I
Lessons
work,
learned.
as Brandon knows, I'm always working on like something on my truck, on my car, on whatever.
He's got a Raptor.
And I'm pretty proficient in most things, but there's certain things I don't mess with. One of those is brakes and brake lines. That's a very like crucial part to the vehicle, and if I mess that up, I'm not stopping. So I pay someone to do that. Like you can do that for me, but everything else I can do. But brakes, nah, that's you. You can do it.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Well.
I was going to ask. You mentioned that you had talked to your friend again the other day. What has there been a long period of time between when you guys talked, like since you were kids, and then now again as adults, or do you guys actually like keep in touch?
We kept in touch for a little while, but we're both married with kids now, so life kind of takes its thing. But as I came out about my story, I reached out to him to let him know that, hey man, I'm gonna talk about this, and I was gonna put him in my book. I was gonna put his name in my book. He is in my book, but just not his real name.
Yeah.
I think I call him Jacob in my book.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I reached out to him just to let him know, like, hey. And then I also, because when this happens, a lot of times, for example, like Clark Fredericks, that guy I was telling you about. So Clark's brother was also raped by the same guy, and he had no idea.
Okay.
And when Clark came back from prison, Clark's brother killed himself. I believe it's what the story is.
Shit.
I think he like drunk or took a bunch of pills. I think something like that. I can't really remember what Clark says, but it's on YouTube and all that. He talks about it. But anyways, so Clark came back from prison, and then that happens, right? And because Clark is like hailed as his hero, and so what I don't want to happen is for me to be called a hero. I'm not a hero. I'm not a fucking. It's the same thing that happens when a guy wins a Medal of Honor, right? Anytime a guy wins a Medal of Honor, it's on the worst fucking day of his life.
Right.
You don't ever get a Medal of Honor for fucking pulling up all the fucking weeds. Like, you get a Medal of Honor for doing some fucking hardcore shit on a really bad day. And
almost all have survivor's guilt too.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the same. So it's the same thing that kind of happens with this situation, where when if I say something, I'm called this hero, and so it's like, I'm not the hero. I'm really not. I'm just trying to help others. It's a little different, but it's the same. And so that's what I called him for, and I just said, hey man, and then like I said, I've never heard his side of the story. I never knew how bad it was for him, and it was significantly worse than what it was for me, which was fucking crazy to hear. Because if you think I have a bad story, holy fucking hell! I mean, mine's pretty bad.
The same guy?
Yeah,
and it was worse.
Yeah. So,
what made it worse? If you don't like, if you mind my asking.
Yeah. So the biggest thing that I would say is, I think I was probably raped like maybe 5 times or so. Which wasn't that bad. I say that, but whatever. In comparison to him, like every fucking weekend he was. So like and I asked him, because I was like, so how many times, like, do you think? Because that's how I kind of like, I'm trying to put the math together on how often these things happen to me.
Some of this.
Yeah, exactly, quantifying it. And so he's like, probably at least 50 times. And so, you imagine being 13, 14, 15 years old, and that happening that many times, and it'll fuck you up, man. And it just fucks up your whole fucking life. And so that's what I talked to him about. And after we got done talking, I told him, I said, and so this is part of the reason why I want to have a conversation too, is because when I talked to him previously, he would say things like, hey man, you're a lot tougher than me. You reported the guy. You're a lot stronger than me. You're a lot braver than me. All these different things, which if you've never talked to anybody who's been through some shit, you may not pick up on it. But like, even when I was in the Army, I had a friend who called me one night and said, you're just a really good guy, man. And they're getting all these like things off their chest because they're about to fucking kill themselves.
Yep.
And so
know
I called him.
exactly
I
what you're
said,
talking
"Look,
about.
man, yeah." I was like, "Let's go to the beach tomorrow, right?" And that's what I did in the army. But the other day when I was talking to my other friend, he was saying all these things, like, "Hey, man, you're much tougher than I am, and I'm a bitch, and I'm a pussy. I could never say this shit. I could never write this down. I could never write a book. All these different things." And I was like, "Bro, I'm gonna say this one time, and it's kind of fucked up, but I'm gonna say this one time, and you just need to shut up and let me say it, and then you can say whatever you want to say after that." Because he kept cutting me off previously, but I said, "You need to go get some fucking therapy." I said, "Go fucking find somebody. I don't give a fuck if you gotta take medicine. I don't want to take medicine, and I don't need medicine right now. But if you're so fucked up that you can't function, get some medicine so you can function, so you can get some therapy done. And then once you get to the therapy part, then you get off the medicine if that's what you can do. But if you need the medicine, then fucking take it."
That's okay.
Yeah, man. And so that's what I kind of told him the other day. And I'll check up on him and see if he's going to do anything. But the unfortunate part about people like me and him who are fucked up, or anybody else, is that the world still does not owe you, and the world doesn't stop turning. And that was like a big thing for me waking up about it all, was like, the world does not have to walk around on eggshells because I'm fucked up. If I'm not going to fucking take care of my own problems, then I'm just as fucked up as somebody else, because I acknowledge my problems. I know I have them. There are resources out there. If I'm going to be so ignorant to them and then blame my problems, that's just a victim fucking mentality, man. Like, for me, I'm like, fuck this, man. Like, this shit ain't holding me back. Like, I'm going to use this shit to be better and stronger and do cool things. And every time I do something, it's just that much better. That's how I look at it. And so, for a long time, I didn't want to talk about the sexual abuse stuff because that's obviously very embarrassing or shameful.
Personally, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, fuck. When I did the interview with the cop, he brought up a story I told him where the dude fucking, I was basically performing oral sex on the guy, and he ejaculates like into my face, and as a fucking 13-year-old boy, or 12-year-old, however the fuck old I was. I mean, that wasn't the only time that it happened, but I told that cop that story, and he brought that up, and I forgot about that shit. And dude, when he said that in that fucking interview room, I told him, I was like, I want you to be as graphic as possible because I want to get through this. I want to heal through this. And he said that shit, and I almost stopped the fucking interview. I was like, hold on, goddamn. I was
Just
like,
like
bro, you got
repressed memory he just brought forward.
yeah, yeah, dude. I mean, it's just like the other. I told you about the thong thing. I forgot about that until the other day.
That's
which is
crazy,
like,
man.
yeah. So yeah, these great. But anyways, yeah. So I just told my we don't really talk as much anymore because of family, and it's hard. And he's like 5 hours away. But yeah, man. I wanted to hear his side of the story, which really opened up a lot to me. And I respect the hell out of him for saying what he said, because he said some fucked up shit. But yeah, the therapy thing is just, it's real, man. If you're fucked up, you gotta take care of yourself.
Definitely. Yeah, I mean, about a year ago, I guess now, I started going through EMDR and some other things before that, just kind of leading to EMDR. And I for the longest time was really averse to going, even though my wife pushed me to go, and I even I made appointments and then just wouldn't go, And but it for the longest time, I just thought, this isn't going to make a difference. It's not going to help me. This is stupid. I don't want to do this. And that's totally wrong. I was wrong. Absolutely, I was wrong. And there are concepts now that I even will catch myself walking myself through about okay, well, I'm feeling this. I need to recognize this so I can do this. And there was a misconception for me that I'm not going to go through this and walk out healed and perfect, and that's not it at all. And you're learning how to manage and cope, so when this shit does start happening or bothering you, you can manage it and get back to life as regularly scheduled as quickly as possible, essentially. And that's basically what I needed to understand, I guess, to be able to switch into a mode to be receptive to going to therapy and EMDR and that process, because that is definitely a process. You have to like categorize all the shit you want to fucking deal with. And but yeah, man, therapy is a really, really big deal, and I encourage as many people who want to go or think they may need to go, because there'll be stuff you'll realize or learn about yourself that you didn't even fucking realize. And you were like, oh man, like how are those two connected? But they are in some really weird way. And it will make a difference for you. But now I wanted to ask about when you were going through this, with your abuser, was it always just like mental manipulation, or was there ever any sort of like violence, or was it just like the existence of the possibility of violence that sort of like pushed it further?
I don't think I ever felt violence or like physically scared ever.
Mm.
As fucked up as it sounds, he was like very gentleman-like raping. When it came to raping and molesting, he was as gentleman-like as you could be,
Mm-hmm.
for lack of better terms. I don't know how
Yeah,
you say
no,
that, but
I don't. Yeah, I don't either.
yeah, yeah.
I get
So
what you mean.
yeah. So there was never. There are some times you hear in stories where they say, "If you say anything, I'll kill you." Like
Sure.
the Clark Frederick story.
Mm-hmm.
The guy who rapes him, beats the fuck up, actually kills a dog in front of him and says, "If you say anything,
Uses it
I'll
as
do
a
this."
scare
Yeah,
tactic.
yeah,
Okay.
exactly. He never did that with us. He just was very cool, calm, collected, very nice. It was just all mental. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, he would tell me he loved me. I was the only thing that mattered to him. He would
Oh
sing,
wow.
not sing, but he dedicated like a lot of like 70s and 80s rock albums and songs to me, like fucking Meatloaf and like Hairspray type shit. Like fucking,
Like just playing
like
them in
if
the
you,
house.
in the car whenever we'd be, because it was like a 30-minute drive.
Mm.
So we'd listen to a lot of that, and he would always say like, "Oh, this is what I think about you whenever I hear this song," and it's just like 80s fucking. It's like kind
Rock
of
ballad.
fucking corn. Yeah, I was like, dude, like what the fuck, like
Richard
the,
Marx, something
yeah.
like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, yeah, it's like something you see in a cornball ass movie where like they play it outside the girl's house before prom night or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, bro, that's weird.
That
So
is
anyway,
crazy.
yeah.
How how would you say that, like, as you came into like getting into a serious relationship and then getting married and having kids, that like how has that been navigating relationships? And then, I mean, this is a big question, right? But like navigating that relationship, getting into a marriage, and then navigating being a father, like that has to be just a totally different experience.
Yeah, so the navigate so being a father part, um, a lot of people give me a lot of credit for it, and I didn't really realize this until recently that a
Hmm.
lot of people who go through what I've gone through don't ever want to have kids. They don't ever want to bring kids into the
Really?
world because of these situations. They're fucking
Okay.
terrified. Um, and I'm telling you, man, if you hear more of these stories, it's just fucking
That makes
disturbing.
sense. Mm.
Oh my god, it's so disturbing. So, uh, now as far as relationships go, as soon as I reported the guy, I eventually, I started to kind of see girls more often because I was free on the weekends, and I was very sexually motivated. So
Hmm.
part of my mission too is to teach young men to just be smart about what they're doing with women, because I think that in this society now, especially, I don't know, man. When I was a kid, it was all about getting pussy. It's like like when are you gonna fuck? Like when are you gonna get a girl? Like, hey, have you fingered a girl yet, or have you gotten head?
I mean,
Have you
that's
done
basically
this?
what high school and college was like, for sure. Absolutely.
Yeah,
All the
yeah,
time.
yeah, exactly. So I think like my part of my mission is to let guys know that you got to be careful,
Hmm.
because you can ruin somebody's life and you can ruin your own by one fucking stupid ass mistake. I I almost did it like multiple times. Like I was so sexually motivated. Thankfully I never did anything crazy, but I was very like come on, come on, come on, like very
Pushy.
pushy, like to have sex.
Mhm.
Um I mean, I'd take a girl out, or we wouldn't even go out. We just hang out for the first time, and I'm like, okay, it's time to have sex. But I had been so conditioned to it that it was just like, this is what we do, you know? And so it really fucked me up. And I didn't realize it fucked me up at the time. Like I said, I didn't realize any of this until I was like 20 something. I was getting out of the Army. And it all came back at the same time because I realized like how big of a piece of shit I was for doing that for all those years, for trying to, you know, just manipulate these girls. And it was just fucked up, and I shouldn't have done that. You know, like I said, I never did anything serious, but it was just very pushy and just uncalled for stuff. And
Sure.
Anyways, so that was the early part of it. My wife is actually the first girl I've ever dated. So yeah, so a lot of, well, not a lot, but a fair amount of relationships before her. And then she was the first girl I'd ever dated. So yeah, we dated for like 3 months, and it was pretty cool. I was at Fort Stewart, and
it was pretty cool.
Yeah,
Not bad.
Yeah, not bad.
Not bad.
Date again.
She's just outside the door, like, not bad.
Yeah. So yeah, we dated for like 3 months, and then I think I told her, I was like, I think I'm going to marry you. And 6 months or 3 months after that, so 6 months into dating, we were married. And because of my fucked up ass life, I didn't really give a fuck about anybody else. And so we got married. We didn't tell anybody. And we were married for like 6-7 months. And then we put it on Facebook. We went and got like a photo shoot done that said that we eloped. And we put it on Facebook, and we were like super proud of being this like rebellious young couple that didn't have a traditional wedding. But truthfully, at the time, I didn't really give a fuck about weddings. And to this day, some of these things, like these like formalities that we form as a society, like birthdays and Thanksgiving and Valentine's Day, and we get so caught up in the formalities of it that we just forget that like you can tell your child that you love them outside of their birthday. You know that, right? Like like you can just be nice to people outside of the holidays.
That's how my wife and I are with Valentine's Day. It's like every day is an opportunity to be Valentine's Day.
My biggest one is like just with families in general, because I never had a family. And so one thing I wanted for my kids was I wanted my kids to be around their cousins. I wanted my kids to be around their grandparents a lot. And when I was in high school, I had my best friends were in foster care, and I hung out with them every weekend. And every fucking Sunday, the whole family would go to church, and then the whole family would go back to their house, like 20, 30 people. And it'd be a bunch of fucking food, kids. And it was just like this big thing and so I was there every Sunday. I was part of that, you know, part of that
That's awesome.
function. And so that was my that's kind of how I am. Like I don't really care about holidays or birthdays. And having kids now, I do get a little bit more excited for Christmas and stuff because they're starting to understand that stuff. Well, actually, they do understand it now.
Enjoy seeing them happy and
and that's cool. And I would say, to kind of wrap up the question, between me and my wife, we've had she's tough as hell for sticking with me, because when you have to, I talk about it in my book, when you have to love somebody who's damaged products or like damaged goods, people who are fucked up, they're hard to love because we're fucked up and like we got some shit in our heads that sometimes don't sound right. So I appreciate her for that. And she knows that. And then my kids, I'm thankful for her family, because the one thing that always gets me really emotional is when I see her dad or her grandpa like hugging on the kids and loving on the kids, because I never had it, and every time I put my kids to bed, I'm very intentional about it. I go in there and I hug them, I kiss them, I tell them I love them, and I tell them I'm proud of them. And every night, like my son especially, he's always like, "Why are you proud of me?" And he's 3. "Why are you proud of me?" Or if I haven't gotten to it yet, he'll say, "Are you proud of me?" Because he knows it's coming, And I'm like, "Fuck yeah, I'm proud of you,
hell
motherfucker."
Yeah, bro.
Yeah, and I'm just like, "Man, I fucking love you, dog." And I'm like, So
Dude.
that part of intentional being a father, I could talk about being a father forever. I think so many fucking people have kids to put them on Instagram with their cute little onesies,
So
and then
many.
like sit them off in the corner. Like as a parent, man, like
I've only
I
been
don't
a
want to have any
dad.
more kids. Yeah, dude. Yeah.
Yeah, I've only been a dad
I,
for 2 months, and I didn't think I could love an entity or a thing so much.
dude,
And I
it's
just
wild.
I play with her. I like
And it
holding
just happens.
her. Yeah, like
it just happens.
It's crazy to think. Like my dad joked, he's like, because I posted a thing saying like how obsessed she is with me because like you're giving her a bath, and the way she's just looking at me while I'm giving her a bath was just nothing but love and like appreciation for like me caring for her and stuff. Like you can just see it in her face. And
dude, yeah.
I sent it to my dad and I was like, look how obsessed she is with me. Like she just won't stop like Googling me, like she's like, ooh, all the time with me. And
well, I mean, when you send me selfies, I'm the same way. So
no, makes sense. And my dad's like, I think you're obsessed with her. And I was like, oh, I'll 100%
yes.
I'll kill everyone to make sure.
Did you seen that video of those like they're asking these parents and they're like, oh, would you kill for your kid?
God.
And they're like, well, I don't think I'd kill. And I'm like, fuck you. Hell yeah, I'd kill for my fucking kid. 100%. Are you serious?
Dude, yeah, so that's like, man, being a parent is such a fucking important thing in this world. I mean, that's the family is the root of all the problems, I think, that we have. When you don't have a strong family environment in the country, it shows because you have all these fucked up ass kids, like just like me. So like I'm a disciplinarian as a father. Like I whoop my kids. My kids are 3 and 5, and they've gotten many ass whoopings over the years. And that's one thing I can say about my kids. Is I can pretty much take them wherever the fuck I want, and they shut the fuck up because they know that, like, and not in a bad way, like shut the fuck up, but like they know not to act like a fucking asshole.
They know when it's playtime. They know when it's serious time.
I can't remember if I've told this story before, but I will never forget this ass whooping. And it didn't happen to me; it happened to my brother. We were on base and we went to one of these like bazaars. We were in Japan, so like all these like Japanese vendors came on base and they set up like a hangar for them to showcase all their stuff. And so there's all these like expensive ass like porcelain vases and shit, and my dad had told my brother, we went with another family, stop fucking dicking around, stop running around because I have to pay $500 for an umbrella vase. I'm going to fucking kick your ass, like, and they didn't stop, dude. And I'm standing like near them. And I'm the oldest. So this is my little brother, and him and this other kid just come cruising, dude. They just run through this like line of kimonos. And my dad just stand there, undoes his belt, takes it off, and waits for him to get within arm's reach. And the second he does, he's fucking got him and just bends him over in the middle of this fucking hangar full of people and just whips his ass. I just was like, oh my God, and of course everybody's like looking, and then everybody stops looking. You know what I mean? And but I will never forget that. But no, we got it too, dude, for sure.
Dude, well, see that's like people they'll talk about like, oh, like how do you get this toddler to stop screaming and stop biting and stop doing all this dumb shit? I'm like, have you tried whooping his ass?
Yeah.
Well, they don't understand. They don't deserve that. It's like, dude, look, and I'm not fucking kidding when I say this. When my kids were old enough to, when I said no, and they turned and looked at me, and I could see it. And you're talking like one,
look?
like, yeah, when they can start crawling and like grabbing shit. And the reason, and I'll get into a fucking tangent here, goddammit. This is why I tell my wife This is why I tell my wife it's so fucking important to teach fucking discipline and like to listen on the first command. It's just like being in the fucking military. For a long time, I did not understand what blind faith was. I didn't understand why you need to have blind faith. But if I go into a fucking room and my fucking team leader tells me to go left instead of right, I can't just stop and be like,
why?
Why am I going left? Why? Because I'm going to get my fucking ass killed.
Yep.
So when I tell my fucking kids, go to the fucking bathroom before we go to bed, get your ass in there and go to the fucking bathroom.
Right.
Like, it's because you're conditioning the fucking mind, right? So when we're in Walmart and somebody walks in with a fucking AR and they start shooting the fucking place up and I tell you to fucking run, you fucking run. Or if you're going out into the street and there's a fucking car coming and I say stop, you don't fucking turn and look at me and say, ha ha ha, Daddy's fucking Yeah, why?
Yeah.
Motherfucker, you fucking stop. And so that's why I am the way I am with my kids about like that kind of shit. But it's conditioning. It's all it is. And so when they're young and they start getting into shit, they start grabbing shit, and if they're grabbing something they're not supposed to, you don't beat the fuck out of them, but you walk up to them, you start fucking three-piecing your fucking toddler, but you just walk up and you fucking, hey, no, and then if they do it again, no, okay, if they do it again, then you smack them on the ass or the hand, whatever, and like it does hurt, man. It does suck to fucking hurt their feelings, but it's fucking part of life, dude.
Yeah.
And then but we did that so quick and so early and so often that, I mean, no shit, by the time they were like 1.5, we'd just say no and they'd go away from it. And when you have your kids lined up and disciplined that well, that my 5-year-old, I can tell her to go upstairs and clean all 3 of the rooms, and she does it. I mean, it's fucking, to me, it's amazing.
They're a fucking rarity now, that's for sure.
Oh yeah. Well, it's the parents, man. It's the parents, unfortunately.
Absolutely. There's too much of that. I agree, man. Whoever they are, have done a lot to destroy the nuclear family, and that's again, not to like tangent or soapbox too hard. That's why I think it's so important that those roles are identified, because they have a purpose. You have a purpose as a male. Women have purposes as females. There are things you don't have to be, a dude as a chick to be good or better. Like you say these things like, you have things as a woman that you're good at and better at than a man, like, and than a man. So do those things and be those things. It's okay that we're different. You don't have to prove that you're better than a guy by doing X, Y, and Z or whatever, So, but I do very much think that those roles are there. This isn't that whole, all of these roles are a construct is bullshit, because when shit falls apart, and goes back to, if it ever went back to caveman days, right? It's caveman days for a reason, because there's cavemen out there fucking knocking the saber-tooth tiger over the head with a rock and then bringing it home. You know what I mean? But for real. And it goes right back to those specific gender roles, because it's just the way we're built, man. It's just the way it is. And that's why those exist. It's not a construct. It's your fucking brain, thousands and thousands of years of evolution, grinding those in, and now it's second nature.
Yeah, see, that's part of the thing with, like, God, dude, when people just don't have no fucking perspective, man. That's the whole cycle of, like, hard times create strong men create easy times create weak men.
You said that.
Now we're in that weak men, so
we're now in the hard times, my friends.
We're if we aren't now, we're about to be. But and it's from. And like, it's so fucking crazy, man. Like, we live in America, and if you've never been outside of America, you wouldn't understand.
Yeah.
But we live in a fucking country where we have the right to be upset about something.
Dumb shit,
right? We are so fucking free. Not even though we're oppressed, we are so fucking free in this country that we don't even know what to fucking be mad about. Yeah. So we're just creating shit to be fucking upset.
Stuff to be upset about.
Literally.
We don't have a turmoil or conflict, so we create our own conflict.
Dude, that's like the whole impetus behind Sebastian Junger's book Tribe, is that whole idea is that we're not a tribe, there's no community anymore, there's not a common unifying theme anymore at all, and that's why everything is falling apart.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And the people that, like, oh my God, man, it's just disturbing, man. The people that complain and want to come up with all these fucking reasons of why their life sucks, or like, and most of the time they do it to themselves. It's like, you're 18 and then you decided that you're fucking some sort of whatever the fuck you are.
Like,
you did that to yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, so. I mean, if you go do that in another country, if that's how you feel, I know it's like a super cliche answer, but like, if that's how you feel, go to another place and live. And then you'll find out why America is the fucking land of fucking the American dream.
Yeah,
it's not the fucking British dream.
No one's
it's
leaving
not the fucking
America
Ethiopian dream.
Mass exodus to escape it. It's not a thing.
And, like I said, man, the people in those other countries, man, those motherfuckers get tied up, strung up on a bridge, and burnt alive for the shit that...
risking their life jumping onto like a barely inflatable raft.
Exactly.
And trying to go over the Pacific or the Atlantic to get away from America.
Listen, the reason why the modern American male strays away from doing hard things like you were talking about and doesn't apply himself is because we live in a society that he doesn't have to anymore.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And all of these things you enjoy, these things that you think don't matter, we're part of some greater global community that thinks the same way. That's all a farce. It's not true at
Yeah.
all. You live this way and enjoy these niceties and this creature comforts because of the United States. And the reason why we got there is because people before you did not shirk duties that were hard. They did not walk away from responsibilities. And you are, and you're creating a bad pattern. And that's what's going to make all of
Yep.
this go downhill. And again, that whole thing you just said, weak men create hard times.
What's insane is we live in a time where literally any question or any problem you have, you can solve it like instantly on this supercomputer in your hand. Like you can answer it, you can solve
You're
it,
an android.
you can figure anything out like
You are.
immediately. Yet we are probably the dumbest we've ever been.
Swimming in a sea of knowledge.
Yep.
Fucking
You have
retarded.
all the answers, and you can't figure things out.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's I think one thing that's helped me is like listening to a lot of podcasts, listening to a lot of reading books and shit. Because it does help you it does help you understand people, understand the world and things like that. I mean, fuck, as of recently, I've thought about getting more into like I don't know, what do they call it, like bushcraft or whatever the fuck, like just survival and all that, you know?
Yep.
Because I'm like, you know what? I might fucking start putting some goddamn gallons of water in my fucking garage or something.
Yeah.
Because
if
shit goes south,
gallons.
Like, yeah.
you need drums.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, you know, and that's kind of some of the reason why, like I said, to do hard shit too, is because, one, when the shit hits the fan, like I want to be able to protect and defend and things like that. But, I just don't want to fold up, man. Like I don't want to, I can't imagine being that guy that when something bad happens, like I can't defend my family or I can't just, or if I lose my job, like I can't like make something happen. Like, you know, I don't know.
And doing that is like a muscle, man, you know, because you could lose it real fast. And I actually had the same thought last night. I watched a video of some 60-plus-year-old dude who works out and he does sprints. And I was like, when's the last fucking time you saw somebody in their 60s do a sprint? You know, I was like, that's definitely something that he's kept up with. You don't just fucking get up and throw your fucking New Balances on at 65, you know, and just head out in the yard and do some sprints. Like that'd be it. Grandpa broke his hip today, guys. Sorry. You know, that's
he's dead.
Yeah.
When's the last time you saw somebody who's even just past high school, 25 years old, do a sprint?
Yeah.
You know, like you don't ever like. When's the last time? I can't remember the last time I ran full capacity speed. To be honest, I run a lot, but like to run like full out sprint.
I literally
there's a spot near my house where the sidewalk is short enough to do that, and I will do it every once in a while, just dead ass sprint, just for fucking shits and gigs.
I literally just joked at the beginning of this podcast how I run once a year, and it's a mile and a half at my PT test. Like, that's not good.
Do you sprint? You should.
No, I don't. I don't sprint. It feels like a sprint for that mile and a half because I don't run.
Yeah, well, that'll do it.
Well, Seth, you said your book coming out sometime the end of this year. We definitely want to get it, and I would love to know when it's coming out and help you, promote it and all of that. Very interested in reading it. So, but is there anything, to close out, I wanted to ask you that somebody who maybe can look out, things that maybe somebody could look out for in somebody else that's going through what you went through as like a tell, to maybe try and get somebody some help or intervene?
Man, it's hard because whenever somebody says something, it's like a complete shock. Like I said, it's almost never like oh yeah, we figured something was happening. It's always like we had no fucking idea.
Yeah.
But I would just say, man, you have to trust your gut. And if you think something is wrong, just say something. If you think somebody's saying weird things or doing weird things, then say something. Because at a minimum, you're wrong. Or the worst thing that happens is you're wrong, right? And they're like, what the fuck? Like, no. Best case scenario is that you at least put it in that person's mind that they can come and talk to you. So if you know somebody who's going through it, I know everybody always talks about this stuff like, oh, I would kill somebody if they did that to my daughter. Well, when you say that, I'm just for reference, it puts that person at unease or makes them nervous about it, because if I report my abuser at 15 and then my grandpa goes and murders the guy, well, now my grandpa's on the news for murder, he's gone for murder, and then not only that, but now the whole fucking town knows what happened to me. So now I also came out with the biggest thing that's ever happened to me. My grandpa's gone, and the whole fucking world knows. Now I got the media showing up at my house because of this crazy fucking case.
Yeah.
And then I got to go back to school and get
Made a
bullied for
bad
it as well.
situation worse.
Yeah. So I know a lot of people talk about that, and even if they are saying it jokingly, you just have to know your audience, and this is something that people just don't know. I didn't know this either. But you just got to understand that those little like comments will kind of fuck you up, because you just get scared. It's not a comforting thing, even if you said, well, I would kill for my daughter, or if I would kill if somebody raped my son or my daughter. It's not a comforting thought. A comforting thought is like, you can talk to me about anything and I will not react.
I like that.
Like I will not act any kind of certain way. I always have your interest. And so even when I tell that story about when I reported and my friend said, what do you want to do? He didn't even realize it at the time, but that's the best thing he could have said. Whereas most people would say, fuck this, we got to go get him.
This is
right?
what we're going to do.
Well, he said, yeah. He's like, what do you want to do? He's like, I'll follow your lead, whatever you want to do, because you're the one making the report. And so that's the right thing to do, is to say, so if somebody does confide in you, or if you do think something's going on, you need to gain that person's trust so that they can talk to you and trust that you're not going to react. And if they do tell you their business, the right thing to do
be worthy
is
of
to
trust.
say, yeah, exactly. Be worthy of the trust, right? Listen to them and ask them what they want to do, and then they need to report, right? So just like in the military with the sharp shit, I don't know how you do it in the civilian world, but there's like confidential and then there's unconfidential reporting, like
restricted, unrestricted.
Yeah. So what I would do is report. I always tell everybody, don't seek like vengeance or whatever. Just report for yourself, because when you report, you get it off your chest, which is extremely helpful. And then also you get the therapy for free, right? All that therapy, the crime victim services, they take care of you for free.
Okay.
So don't think about trying to, like, if you can put the guy away, or if you can take care of the abuser or whatever, then great. But if you get raped by somebody that you don't know and they run away and you never identify them, you still got to say something, because you need to take care of yourself. Don't get so caught up on, did I put this guy away for long enough? Like, don't worry about that. Like, what's it fucking matter? Truthfully, what's it matter? If you report and he gets 5 years or 15 years, what's it matter? You did, it's out of your control. So you might as well control what you can, which is taking care of yourself and getting help.
Right. I like that. Where can people find you, man?
Yep. So I just created a website today. It's SethGehle.com. That's as simple as that. Last name is Gehle. But yeah, SethGehle.com. I'm on Instagram. Go Beyond the Shadows is my handle there.
YouTube.
Yeah, YouTube is Seth Gehle. Go Beyond the handle, and there's like Go Beyond the Shadows, something like that. But if you look up Seth Gehle, you'll find me. Facebook, LinkedIn, all that shit, Seth Gehle. So if you go to my website, it's all linked in there as well.
Okay.
And it shows kind of a preview of what I'm doing, and it's actually a pretty fucking cool website. I'm pretty proud of that shit. So I'm not gonna lie.
Check it out.
So
yep.
Yep. And then if you go to the website, there is a place to subscribe. I'm not going to flood your shit. Like, I won't email you at all. But I will start giving updates later this year on when the book will come out. And then when the book does come out, I'll send out a reminder, like, hey, the book is coming out. Yep.
Awesome.
So that's the best way to keep track of the book, is just to get on that. So I have a mailing list of who I can shoot it all out to.
Cool.
But once the book comes out, I will certainly fucking blow your shit up until you fucking buy it.
Oh, we're going to get it for sure.
Just kidding.
All right, man. Well, thank you very much for coming on and sharing that with us. I really appreciate it. And I like having these conversations, because just difficult ones, because again, somebody might be listening and it could just give them that sort of strength to go out and say something and seek the help that they need to. So, and but yeah, everybody go and check out SethGehle.com. Be on the lookout for his book, obviously. And yeah, man, I just want to say thank you again for coming on. And
thank you very much.
I hope you guys have a good night.
Appreciate it.
No doubt.